Chapter 1077. Kill, Kill, Kill. The heavenly soldier looked coldly at the Tao diagrams that were sweeping toward him from all directions. A domineering aura surged from his body, and the 12 pairs of blade wings on his back trembled in a unique rhythm. Waves of vast blade chi spewed out from the wings, flashing with silver-white divine brilliance. Demon gods with faces full of hostility roared out from the wings. Each demon god held a silver-white blade in his hand and slashed out in different ways. Each blade displayed a different battle skill. Like a tide, they fiercely attacked the Tao diagrams in all directions. Every blade could cut open the void. Some of the blades contained the power of flames that could burn the heavens and the earth. Some of the blades could freeze everything within 10,000 miles. Some of them were as fast as lightning and invisible as wind and cloud. Each demon god seemed to have the terrifying power to fight against a peerless expert. Rumble. When the heavenly soldier moved, the power that burst out was enough to shock everyone. However, the Tao diagrams were equally terrifying. They swept down and collided with the demon god. The power contained in the Tao diagrams instantly crushed a large number of demon gods into powder like a huge grinder. However, the demon gods advanced dauntlessly. Countless blade energies converged into a torrent. After the Tao diagrams destroyed a large number of demon gods, the blade energies that swept over from behind also cut the Tao diagrams into pieces. The domineering aura of a demon god was completely displayed. The blade wings vibrated continuously, and countless demon gods soared into the sky. They clashed fiercely with the Tao diagrams. From time to time, the Tao diagrams and demon gods would be annihilated one after another. However, the various restrictions around them were blocked by the heavenly soldier, unable to have any effect on him. What amazing battle strength! He can actually block the surrounding Tao diagrams with just the blade wings behind him. Deshertian's eyes narrowed. Each of the restriction Tao diagrams condensed in the 8th level could obliterate a peerless expert. Moreover, they were endless and continuous. There were restrictions everywhere, and not even the slightest bit of heaven and earth yuan qi could be absorbed. Over a long period of time, it was enough to exhaust a mighty expert to death. However, this demon god seemed to be waving his blade wings instinctively. He was able to unleash such an incredible attack. In a real battle, it would definitely be 10 or 100 times more terrifying than this. He was definitely a formidable opponent. What is he trying to do? Ming stared curiously at the heavenly soldier's actions. She was surprised. She did not know why this fiend celestial would come to the Forbidden Land, which was full of restrictions. Deshertian did not jump out immediately. He also wanted to know what the demon god's ulterior motive was. The heavenly soldier sneered as he glanced at the restriction that was blocked outside. With a flash of light in his hand, a pitch-black altar appeared in his hand. It looked very small, but with a casual toss, the altar quickly landed on the ground, and in the blink of an eye, it grew to several 100 feet in size. On the altar, there was a dense array of drawings. The images depicted all sorts of weapons. They were constantly transforming from weapons to living beings, converging into devilish bodies. Through the use of possession techniques, they became weapons of slaughter, slaughtering all living beings. Every demonic god had a domineering aura, and their murderous intent soared into the sky. Below them, there were mountains of corpses and seas of blood piled up. Every one of them was a murderous god whose hands were stained with blood. No one knew how many living beings had died in their hand. However, the demonic gods in the drawings all looked at the figure in the middle with respect, worship, and fanaticism. It was as if that was the most devout belief in their hearts. Deshertian's divine eye instantly imprinted that figure into his mind. It was a terrifying demonic god. His body was formed by all sorts of weapons and dharma treasures. Every inch of his body was formed by all sorts of strange demonic weapons. There were sabers, swords, staffs, spears, axes, hooks, and so on. At the same time, there were all sorts of Dharma treasures, such as demonic bottles, demonic rings, demonic bells, and so on. Almost every Dharma treasure could be seen on his body. It was as if he was the source of countless weapons and Dharma treasures in the world. It was like a fountainhead. All the weapons and Dharma treasures fused together in a strange way, in a perfect way. There were 3,000 arms on his body. Each arm was holding a demonic treasure or even a demonic weapon. That appearance could make one's will collapse just by looking at it. Its power was too strong and domineering. Each demonic weapon and demonic treasure contained monstrous power and shocking lethality. Behind him, 36 pairs of demonic wings covered the sky and split the sun. Although what appeared on the outside of each demonic wing were pitch-black feathers, different weapons and Dharma treasures appeared on the feathers. Each feather had incredible lethality. On his face, a pitch-black mask covered his face. However, on his forehead, there was a pitch-black demonic horn that rose to the sky. This demonic horn was intertwined with countless mysterious demonic runes. It seemed to contain endless killing power. Under his feet was a sword dragon formed by countless battle swords. The aura on his body was simply a kind of arrogance that looked down on the world. It was as if nothing could restrain his fate. With a glance, he could cause the greater 1,000 worlds to collapse on the spot, completely turn into powder. Rumble! Even Shirtians will seem to have suffered a terrible attack when he saw the demonic weapons gaze. The Emperor's will in his body, which had condensed into a solid substance, shook violently. The will body, which had been shining with a divine light, dimmed, and the will crystal in his body shook violently. Who is that? Shirtian immediately activated the Imperial Shocking Book. Waves of Imperial True Force circulated continuously. His will quickly condensed and recovered from the previous shock. However, in his heart there was an incredible feeling of horror. Just now, he had smelled the scent of death on that figure. Ming's expression was extremely solemn as well. Looking at it carefully, after the heavenly soldier took out the altar, he looked extremely serious. He stretched out his arm, and a silver-white demonic light flashed. A drop of silver-white blood the size of a fist was forced out of his body. Even the blood contained thousands of terrifying saber chi. It also contained a strong weapon chi. Patter! The drop of blood landed on the altar. Suddenly, the altar shook violently. The engravings on the altar seemed to come to life, releasing a monstrous desire to fight. Inside, the demonic gods were shouting loudly. Weapon Ancestor! Weapon Ancestor! Weapon Ancestor! The shouts seemed to come from the soul. They carried endless fanaticism and seemed to be very similar to the soul-summoning voice in the blood altar. The shouts spread out in all directions. Even the boundless restrictions that filled every inch of the void could not stop the shouts from spreading. A strange power spread out from the altar and spread out in all directions, covering a large area. Whoosh! In just a moment, the altar began to vibrate violently. Hundreds of millions of demonic lights shot into the sky and quickly gathered above the altar to form a mysterious map. The shape of the map appeared to be exactly the same as the one in the Forbidden Lands. It was also divided into 9 regions. Among them, a pitch-black imprint appeared on the 8th region. And in the middle of the 9th level, there was a blood-red mark. That mark seemed to be spitting out a terrifying power from time to time. Weapon Ancestor. The Weapon Ancestor is indeed sealed in the Forbidden Land. He is sealed under the Forbidden Red Lotus. Damn it! How dare you disrespect our Weapon Ancestor? I, the Heavenly Soldier, will destroy this bullshit Forbidden Land. I will destroy the Forbidden Red Lotus. The Celestial Soldier stared at the map in the sky. His silver-white eyes emitted a threatening cold light as he stared coldly at the 2 marks on the map. The black one represented where the Weapon Ancestor was, and the red one represented where the Weapon Ancestor was being suppressed. The heavenly soldier had used his own blood and the souls of countless experts in his clan to absorb a trace of the weapon ancestor's aura. He was able to pinpoint the exact location of the weapon ancestor. The heavenly soldier looked coldly at the 9th region of the Forbidden Land. Weapon ancestor? He is here to find the so-called weapon ancestor? Deschertien's eyes narrowed as he noticed the key words. Hiss. Weapon ancestor. So he's here to look for the weapon ancestor. Could it be that the weapon ancestor is sealed in the Forbidden Land? Ming gasped and said in a strange voice. What a terrifying guy. Oh no. Lunatic Emperor, we must stop him. We must not let him release the weapon ancestor. Otherwise, the origin world will be plunged into endless slaughter. He did not hide the fear in his eyes. Who is the weapon ancestor? Deschertien did not panic. He took a deep breath and asked calmly. The weapon ancestor. The weapon ancestor is the most terrifying demon god in the demon god continent. He is the ancestor of the demon soldiers. Legend has it that he was the first demon soldier. He obtained the chaotic divine stone and forged the chaotic demon body. He devoured countless demon weapons and demon treasures. Every time he devoured a weapon or treasure, his strength would increase by a little. He has already reached the half-step demon ancestor level. He is only one step away from the demon ancestor level. Legend has it that even the demon ancestor or the sovereign lord could not kill him. Dark explained the origin of the weapon ancestor as if he was very familiar with it. The weapon progenitor was like a god of slaughter. His strength was immeasurable. If it was an ordinary expert who had just become an unparalleled expert, he could crush him with a single glance. In the primordial era, more than 10 unparalleled experts in the origin world were killed by the weapon ancestor. The heavens and earth mourned, and the sun and moon wept. His sharpness was almost unstoppable. Back then, my master, the Emperor of the Dead, was severely injured by the weapon ancestor. That's why he eventually fell on the battlefield. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1078. Buy 2 tickets if you have one. Dark was flustered when he mentioned the incident. If the Emperor of the Underworld had not been severely injured by the weapon ancestor, he would not have died in the primordial war. Although the Emperor of the Underworld had not been killed by the weapon ancestor, it was still because of the weapon ancestor. Otherwise, the Emperor of the Underworld would not have died. However, no matter how much he hated the weapon ancestor, he could not help but admire the weapon ancestor's invincible combat strength. He could even slash and kill a peerless expert. He had the combat strength of a demon ancestor. Back then, the origin world had suffered a great loss. It was indescribable with the word disastrous. The weapon ancestor's demonic aura was even more terrifying than the demon ancestor's. If the Devil Lord had not witnessed his massacre and fought with the weapon ancestor to suppress him, who knew how many powerful cultivators would have died at his hands? Crazy D, don't underestimate the weapon ancestor. Rumor has it that he fought a fierce battle with the Demon Lord. Although the battle was short, he managed to hold on for a long time. Even the ruler couldn't kill him on the spot. In the end, the ruler chose to seal him. However, the location of the seal was a mystery. I didn't expect that he would be sealed in the Forbidden Land. Ming spoke while gasping for breath. We absolutely can't allow him to escape the seal this time. Otherwise, unless an overlord acts, then there's probably no one in the world that can stop him. She didn't conceal her dense fear at all when she spoke. Weapon ancestor? Half-step demon ancestor? Deschertien's heart was solemn. His respect for the weapon ancestor had reached the peak. He could clearly feel how terrifying the half-step demon ancestor was. It was an existence that was above the peerless expert. It was between the peerless experts and the sovereign lord. He was almost a half-step demon ancestor. He was invincible under the Sovereign Lord. When he saw Charming Heart in the Demon Suppression Valley, she was also a half-step demon ancestor. Even though she was sealed in the tower, she was still able to charm his mind. Her strength was extremely strange. The weapon ancestor's value was to fight. His combat strength was at the peak of the half-step demon ancestor level. He was the most likely to break through to the demon ancestor level. We can't let weapon ancestor escape. Dishur Tian instantly made a decision in his mind. After Xiao Chen made up his mind, a cold, murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he looked at the heavenly soldier. He absolutely could not remain here. His body flew forward in an instant. He traversed through space at an incredible speed and appeared above the celestial soldier's head without any warning. Even the restrictions in the surroundings couldn't stop him. He was like an emperor who controlled the universe, standing in the air. He looked down at the heavenly soldiers. His expression was ice-cold. Within his body, the grade 12 Black Lotus spun wildly at an astonishing speed within the demon palace, spewing out streams of pure royal true force that flowed endlessly into his left leg. At the same time, the 129,600 royal emperor talismans in his body emitted heavenly sounds as endless divine power flowed endlessly into his legs. He stomped on the heavenly soldier's head. His body exuded a ferocious and domineering emperor's aura. If anyone dared to stand in his way, he would stomp them to death. Extreme Emperor Heaven battling steps. One step to shatter mountains and rivers. With Dishur Tian's current cultivation, this peerless battle skill that was specially created for him was many times more powerful and domineering than before. With just one step, the aura and pressure alone could crush the entire world. It made one unable to resist and be shrouded in despair. Moreover, under his left leg, a beautiful painting of mountains and rivers that seemed to be real appeared. It looked like a fantasy, like a fairyland. Moreover, it was vast and boundless. Compared to before, not only was it more realistic, it was also more boundless. It was as if he could take the entire purple gold land under his feet. However, this painting instantly collapsed. The mountains and rivers in it collapsed at the same time. A terrifying power of the mountains and rivers poured out. The power of the mountains and rivers that could overturn heaven and earth, along with a destructive force, crushed towards the heavenly soldier. Extreme Emperor Heaven battling steps? You are the monster emperor. Although the heavenly soldier was shocked by Dishur Tian's appearance, when he saw the terrifying attack coming towards him, his eyes flashed with a cold light. He shouted, "I wanted to fight you, but I did not expect you to deliver yourself to me. Today I, the heavenly soldier, will kill you in this forbidden land. I will break the seal of my tribe's weapon ancestor and carry out a blood sacrifice. I want to see what you are capable of, monster emperor." The heavenly soldier recognized Dishur Tian almost instantly as he let out a sneer. Looking at the footsteps that were coming down from the sky, he did not even think about it. The 12 pairs of wings on his back shook violently. Clang, clang, clang. Silver crescent-shaped blades shot out from the wings as if they had been unsheathed. They quickly revolved around the heavenly soldier in a strange pattern. His entire body was completely covered by the flying blades, and they collided violently with the power of the mountains and rivers pouring down on him. Rumble! Every strand of the power of the mountains and rivers carried the weight of the mountains. One could clearly see mountains and rivers crashing down from the sky. They could crush mountains and suppress countless experts. However, the blades around the heavenly soldier were like a tidal wave that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. They slashed at the roaring power of the mountains and rivers with lightning speed. Every blade was extraordinarily sharp. When the heavy power of the mountains and rivers collided with the blades, the surrounding void shattered. The power of the mountains and rivers was forcefully cut apart. The power contained in the blades was extremely domineering and unbelievably sharp. Countless sounds of collision rang out in the air. The first step was forcibly blocked, but the silver-white divine radiance on the blades became abnormally dim. Humph! If you want to save the weapon, Ancestor, you have to get past me first. I will capture your devil soul, wipe out your will, and imprison you in the infernal prison forever, Tion said coldly when he saw the heavenly soldier facing him head-on. He did not panic. His right foot stomped heavily toward the heavenly soldier again. Rumble! With this stomp, a scroll of billions of stars appeared under his foot. The scroll was so lifelike that it was as if the entire ancient space of stars had appeared under his foot. As for Indra, he was the divinity that controlled countless constellations. The trillions of constellations revolved around him as he wished. Beneath his feet, countless constellations were annihilated unceasingly, erupting with terrifying astral energy. On the spot, the space beneath his feet completely collapsed. Inch by inch, it was destroyed. The power of annihilation was enough to destroy the heavens and earth. It was as if billions of stars were falling at the same time, crashing down at the same time. Another stomp of the stars. Monster Emperor, you can't do anything to me. 7 styles of the god slaying, overturning the demons of the 9 states. The heavenly soldier looked at the billions of stars crazily falling toward him. There was a grave look on his cold face, but more than that, there was a frenzied killing intent. Without hesitation, he used his peerless combat skill, 7 styles of the god slaying. Kill, kill, kill! Countless soul-shaking murderous cries rang out from the wings of blades behind him. Cold demonic gods shot out from the wings of blades like a tide. Each of the demonic gods held a blade in their hands as they swung it viciously at the falling stars. The blades in their hands seemed to have a life of their own as they unleashed unimaginable battle skills. Every blade delivered a fatal attack in the most concise manner. When they collided with the falling stars, each of the falling stars exploded with shocking destructive power, and the demon gods were smashed into pieces. But at the same time, the dazzling blade light continued to cut the falling stars into thousands of pieces. Every demon god exploded with unparalleled combat strength. They were brave and invincible. Wave after wave, their blades shattered the void, and the destructive power was so sharp that it seemed to be able to cut heaven and earth apart. Rumble! This was a torrent formed by the convergence of the demon gods. With the power to engulf the 9 regions, it actually broke apart this exceptional battle skill. With boundless killing power, it swept towards Sakra from all directions. It seemed to be drowning in the attacks that filled the sky. The demon soldiers were born to fight, and they could always explode with incredible combat strength. Their battle skills were truly terrifying battle skills that only sought destructive power. To them, challenging someone of a higher level was as easy as eating and drinking. Good! Tion could not help but exclaim in admiration. The combat skills of the demon soldiers were indeed powerful. However, his reaction was not slow either. He waved his right hand forward. In his palm, there seemed to be a vast Xing-He circling. Countless stars flashed in his palm, and as they revolved, the stars formed a terrifying vortex. Then, he grabbed at the incoming demon gods with his palm. Ultimate Emperor Creation Palm. Xing-He's circling rotation? Those demon gods did not even see Tion's figure. In an instant they were swept into the palm. It was as if the palm contained an endless starry sky. It was vast and boundless. When the demon gods were swept in, billions of stars crazily smashed on their bodies. In addition to the tearing force produced by the Xing-He's circling rotation, all the demon gods were crushed into pieces. Then, he took 2 consecutive steps. It was the ultimate Emperor War step. With boundless domineering aura, he stepped toward the heavenly soldier without mercy. 3rd step, Sun and Moon rotation. 4th step, 8 desolation destruction. As soon as he stepped out, he immediately stepped on the heavenly soldier at a tricky angle. The celestial soldier reacted extremely quickly. The 12 pairs of blade wings on his back hugged forward, enveloping his entire body under the protection of the blade wings. His 2 feet stepped on the sharp blade wings, colliding with the domineering blade energy in the blade wings. Under his feet, the sun and moon seemed to appear at the same time. The power of the sun and moon formed a taiji that stepped on the heavenly soldier. Rumble! The ultimate Emperor War steps collided violently with the endless blade force on the heavenly soldier's body. On the spot, the surrounding void collapsed at a speed visible to the naked eye, showing a terrifying scene of destruction. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1079. Bang, bang, bang. The celestial soldier's body was stepped on, and the ground under his feet suddenly shook. Cracks appeared, and in an instant, they spread out like a spider web. The ground collapsed inch by inch, and the celestial soldier was directly trampled into the ground. The terrifying heaven-fighting power crushed hundreds of the blades on the wings behind the heavenly soldier, turning them into dust. Every blade was part of the celestial soldier's body. If the blades were damaged, it was equivalent to damaging the celestial soldier's body. For the celestial soldier to have hundreds of blades turned to dust was a huge loss. However, the blade energy from the heavenly soldier's body caused Deshirtion to feel a sharp pain in his legs. It was as if the blade energy had entered his body. Humph! Deshirtion snorted coldly. He did not stop and stepped out again. This time, it was as if there were countless worlds under his feet. Countless heavens and earth were being born and destroyed. It contained the power of the world of worlds. It was as if there were countless worlds being destroyed. The destructive power that erupted from the heavenly soldier's feet landed on him. Boom, boom, boom. The destructive power that erupted from the destruction of heavens and earth could be said to be the most terrifying power. When it poured out, it bombarded the heavenly soldier's body. Instantly, there were countless terrifying explosions that sounded from his body. I was born from battle. I was born for battle, to live for slaughter. My body is the most powerful weapon in the world. Any power will be crushed by me. Kill, kill, kill. The heavenly soldier's body sank into the ground inch by inch. Being stomped on like this made him feel a deep sense of humiliation. He no longer showed any signs of weakness as he let out a cold roar. His right hand, which was made up of countless blades, clenched into a fist. His fist was filled with ferocious blades. Silver-white blade energy spiraled around his fist. He punched out, and a terrifying crack appeared under his fist. His fist directly bombarded towards Sakra's left leg that was stepping down. His fist carried an indomitable killing intent. Everywhere it passed, it shattered everything and shattered the void. It collided solidly with Sakra's left foot that was stepping down. Rumble! The heavenly soldier's fist spewed out an endless amount of saber energy, as if he was going to smash Deshirtion into pieces on the spot. The power contained in the fist was equivalent to the power of 10 peerless powerhouses. However, Deshirtion's peerless battle technique was not ordinary. It clashed fiercely with the sword energy in the fist. Beneath his feet, one world after another collapsed. It clashed with the saber force time again, and was destroyed at the same time. The surrounding space was like a piece of frozen glass. Countless tiny cracks appeared on it, spreading rapidly in all directions. In the blink of an eye, it shattered into countless pieces. The void was collapsing and the earth was collapsing. The restrictive power in the surroundings was forced to spread outward. When the heavenly soldier unleashed his power, his combat strength had reached the pinnacle of a peerless powerhouse. His lethality had reached an unimaginable level. Shifter Emperor, I did not expect you to have such combat strength. However, you have met me today. Even if you have peerless combat strength, you will not be able to escape from my heavenly soldier. Today, I will let you know why my demon soldier race can make all living beings tremble in fear and retreat thousands of miles away. My demon soldier race is born to be the king of killing. The heavenly soldier stepped on the ground and leaped into the air without any warning. Every step he took seemed to have the power to ascend to the heavens. He appeared in front of Tion at an astonishing speed. Suddenly, 2 silver-white blades appeared in his hands. The blades were intertwined with silver Tao patterns, emitting a terrifying killing intent. With a move of his right hand, the blades in his hands strangely turned into billions of blades. They looked like afterimages, but each blade seemed real. It was impossible to tell which one was real and which one was fake. Moreover, each and every blade was as fast as lightning, drawing a short and sharp arc in the air, respectively slashing towards the vital points of the Sakra's entire body. Each and every blade was a fatal killing move, and it seemed that none of the moves were illusory. The heavenly soldier was after all an expert of the demon soldier race. Once he started to counterattack, his attacks were not only concise but also deadly. They were not only fast but also sharp. The heavenly soldier had a cold expression on his face. As he swung the blades in his hands, the wings on his left suddenly swung forward. Like a huge demonic blade, it slashed towards Tion's neck, sweeping across the void. As a weapon, every part of his body could be said to be the most terrifying killing weapon. When it comes to fighting and killing, I, Tion, have never been afraid of anyone. Tion sneered when he saw the heavenly soldier's lightning-fast attack. Without thinking, his flesh and blood surged violently. Streaks of purple-gold glazed immortal divine rings emerged from his flesh and blood. They appeared outside his body and protected him in the divine rings. At the same time, a divine light flashed in the divine eyes of heaven's punishment. The power of destruction swept in all directions. He smiled confidently. He raised his right hand slowly. At the same time, he stretched out a finger. That finger suddenly turned into a purple-gold glazed crystal, with emperor talismans flickering in it. He casually poked the blade that was slashing towards his heart. Ding! When his finger and the blade collided, a crisp sound rang out. The space in front of him shattered. As for the other blades, when they struck his body, they were like illusions. They passed through his body and did not have the slightest bit of destructive power. At the same time, his eyes flashed with a strange light. In the demon mansion, the emperor standing on the 12th grade Black Lotus suddenly opened his eyes, exuding an oppressive aura. A vast and domineering emperor's will instantly broke out of his body and rushed into his eyes. Swoosh, swoosh. Facing the blade wings that were sweeping towards him, Indra glanced at them in the blink of an eye. As he glanced at them, 2 beams of purple-gold divine light that seemed to have materialized directly shot out from his eyes. In the divine light, there was an extremely domineering emperor's will. This was the power of pure will, like 2 domineering emperor's swords. They instantly slammed into the blade wings. Crack! The emperor's will in Tion's body had broken through to the spirit focus realm, condensing the willpower body into a physical body. The number of willpower crystals in his body had reached 81 pieces. But after reaching the ancient demon god realm, the emperor's will naturally stepped into the last realm, egotism. This realm was called egotism because when one reached this realm, one would be the only one in the world. There was no power in the world that could bind one's will. At this point, one only needed to continuously condense willpower crystals. Every time a willpower crystal was condensed, the originally small willpower body would grow inch by inch. When it first condensed into a physical body, it was only 3 inches tall. Then, after continuous cultivation and condensing willpower crystals, it would grow inch by inch. Finally, it would reach the size of an adult. It could even continue to grow without limit. It could reach 10,000 feet or even 10,000 feet. Naturally, the larger the willpower body, the more domineering the willpower body would be. Di Shirtian continuously refined the willpower crystals that he had plundered since ancient times. At this moment, the number of willpower crystals in his body had reached 1,000 pieces. The size of the willpower body had already reached the size of a 7- or 8-year-old child. But his willpower was also extremely strong. At this moment it shot out from his eyes. In the two divine lights, it was as if there were thousands of emperors roaring. Rumble! Before the divine lights condensed from the emperor's willpower, two terrifying holes were immediately pierced through the wings. Thousands of blades were crushed by the emperor's willpower. However, the heavenly soldier was extremely strong. He had rich combat experience. He was completely unmoved. Seeing that the blade in his right hand was easily found by Di Shirtian and blocked with a finger, his heart was still cold. In an instant, his left hand shook, and a blade slashed toward Di Shirtian's throat at an extremely tricky angle. At the same time, the blade wings behind him attacked Di Shirtian in a strange way. The edges of the blade wings were almost immeasurably sharp. With a slight shake, the attack was distributed to the key points around his body. Di Shirtian did not back down. With a flick of the finger on his right hand, the blade between his fingers was forcefully deflected into the distance. Once again, he formed a seal. An ancient seal that exuded endless emperor's willpower instantly condensed and smashed toward the blade. Ha! With a roar, the 10 indestructible divine rings around him fiercely expanded outwards, colliding with the oncoming blade wings in a domineering manner. Rumble! The blade wings were sharp, but the immortal divine rings were incomparably tough. In the immortal divine rings, not only did the heavenly soldier obtain the strength of his own body, but in an instant, the vast and boundless emperor's true force was also injected into the immortal divine rings. Outside the immortal divine rings, countless mysterious heavenly sounds flashed continuously. The power contained in the immortal divine rings was countless times stronger. An even more astonishing power erupted. Almost immediately after the collision, the blade wings were shattered on the spot. They turned into countless blades and dissipated. Heavenly soldier, you must die today! With the 10 immortal divine rings as a backdrop, Di Shirtian was like an ancient emperor descending. The emperor's willpower that emanated from his body suppressed the surroundings. Instead of retreating, he took a step forward. His mouth was like a supreme ruler as he issued a firm order. Between his brows, the heavenly punishment divine eye instantly shot out a dazzling purple-gold divine light. It directly hit the heavenly soldier's chest. Heavenly punishment divine eye, annihilation. The divine eye was cold and ruthless. The divine light that shot out carried the pure power of annihilation. Wherever it went, the restrictive power in the surroundings was smashed into smithereens. The heavenly soldier was only a few dozen feet away from Di Shirtian. He did not even have the chance to dodge the divine light. It directly hit the heavenly soldier's chest. Rumble! The heavenly punishment divine eye was now a top innate spiritual treasure with 4 innate divine seals. Under Di Shirtian's full power, the power that erupted from it was simply unimaginable. Even though the heavenly soldier's body was boundlessly strong, it was still shattered into pieces by the divine light. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1080. It's the end of the month. Those who have tickets, please count up. Countless silver-white blades shattered from the heavenly soldier's body and scattered in all directions. Each blade contained a terrifying killing power. As they flew across the void, they left behind a series of sharp scars. The entire void was instantly filled with terrifying cracks, as though it was made of broken ceramic. Under the annihilation divine light, countless blades were turned into dust on the spot. At this moment, with Sakra's cultivation, the power of the heavenly punishment divine eyes was so strong that it could be said to be inconceivably overbearing. Even the heavenly soldier could not withstand it and was blown into pieces. Ding ding ding! However, Sakra didn't have the slightest bit of relaxed expression. His eyes were filled with radiance as he quickly scanned the surroundings. Sure enough, there were sounds of blades humming in the void. Numerous crescent-shaped blades were returning from afar and rapidly converging towards a place thousands of feet away. In the blink of an eye, there were already tens of thousands of blades emerging. Shifter Emperor, my heavenly soldier is not so easily killed. No one can destroy me in this world. Today you are destined to fall under my blade. Countless blades rapidly converged and formed into the heavenly soldier's appearance in a strange way. He still looked extremely cold, as though there was only cold-blooded killing in his heart. The 12 pairs of blade wings behind him covered the sky and split the sun. Countless blade forces circled wildly, and on each blade wing, there seemed to be countless demon gods roaring. God-killing 7th style, sky-covering blade wings. Clang, clang, clang. Behind the heavenly soldier, the 12 pairs of blade wings were like 12 terrifying weapons. They flashed with silver-white divine light and strangely separated from the heavenly soldier's body. They turned into 12 pairs of blade wings and swept towards Tion in 9 different trajectories. Within the blade wings, countless blades cut through the void. Wherever it passed, the void was sliced inch by inch in an inconceivable manner. In the blink of an eye, all of Tion's escape routes were blocked. The surrounding void was sealed by the blade wings. In the entire world, there was no way to escape in any way. Good timing! Heavenly soldier, today, not only will I defeat you, even your body will be my spoils of war. 7 sins. Sakra didn't have the slightest bit of surprise towards the reformation of the heavenly weapon. The devil weapon race itself was a unique existence formed by countless weapons. As long as one devil weapon wasn't destroyed, they could recover again. How could a heavenly soldier with heaven-defying battle prowess fall so easily? He had long been prepared. Seeing the blade wings coming at him, a light flashed in his hand. A pitch-black light flickered, and the 7 sins demonic zither appeared in his hand. Clang, clang, clang. A burst of crisp and melodious zither music quickly emerged from the zither. The strings were vibrating on their own. Looking at the jade zither, the originally snow-white, jade-like zither had become pitch-black like ink due to it absorbing the enormous power of desire from the world. However, one could still see traces of strange patterns on it. It was mysterious and full of lust. The 9 strings glowed with a strange divine light. The strings were made from the silk of the 10,000-year heavenly silkworm. Could be said to be the best zither string in the world. It was rare in the world. 6 spiritual pearls of heaven and earth were quietly embedded on the edges of the 6 strings. One was the wood spiritual pearl, and the other was the earth spiritual pearl. One was the gold spiritual pearl, one was the wind spiritual pearl, and one was the fire spiritual pearl. One was the water spiritual pearl. On the zither, there were still 3 empty grooves that had not been embedded with spiritual pearls. The 7 sins demonic zither was made with the most unique technique in the world. Every time a spiritual pearl of heaven and earth was embedded in the 9 grooves, it would receive a kind of origin power of heaven and earth, and upgrade instantly. At this moment, the 7 sins demonic zither with 6 spiritual pearls of heaven and earth had reached the level of a middle-grade treasure, comparable to a middle-grade natural spiritual treasure. Of course, the 7 sins could not be measured by its rank. Tion took out the 7 sins demonic zither, and the 5 slender fingers of his right hand slowly brushed across the strings. Looking at the jade zither, there was a touch of nostalgia in his eyes. This jade zither could be said to be the natal demon weapon that had accompanied him for the longest time. The feeling of being connected by blood was wonderful. Although he did not use it often, it was his most important trump card. Clang, clang, clang. Tion's face was calm. When he touched the jade zither, his entire mind was completely replaced by a kind of tranquility. Just like that, he sat cross-legged in mid-air, the 7 sins demonic zither floating in front of him, unusually stable. His hands were placed on the strings. He casually picked up a string and plucked it out with a unique method. Boom, boom, boom. As soon as the strings were plucked, a terrifying power was immediately released from the 7 sins demonic zither. Terrifying earthen dragons formed in the void. Each divine dragon was vivid and lifelike, with 9 claws under its body, exuding a domineering aura. With a roar, they collided with the saber wings. It wasn't just the earth dragon. Moreover, as the Sakra plucked the strings that were obviously condensed with the power of origin, one could clearly see various strange phenomena surging out in the void like a tide. Fire crows that covered the sky and earth, ice phoenixes that covered the sky, azure dragons that carried chilling intent, doomsday storm that connected the sky and earth, and billions of sharp weapons appeared out of thin air around Sakra in almost an instant. In the first instant, they fiercely clashed against the blade wings that were slashing over. Mimic formation, origin energy of heaven and earth. A look of surprise flashed in the heavenly soldier's eyes. The attacks that covered the sky and covered the earth contained the purest origin energy. Every attack could burn the sky and boil the sea, erupting with inconceivable might. Whistling, they collided fiercely with the saber wings. The saber wings, which were originally invincible, were blocked in mid-air. They could not get close to Di-Shirtion at all. The 7 sins demonic zither had merged with the 9 great spiritual pearls of heaven and earth, and could control all kinds of origin energy of heaven and earth. They directly burst out with monstrous attack power. The main thing was that with a thought, the surrounding heaven and earth could immediately be turned into a sea of fire and glaciers. However, Di-Shirtion was not affected at all, seeing that he had directly blocked the saber wings that were slashing at him. The 10 fingers that were placed on the strings suddenly changed, and with a strange technique, he pinched the strings and quickly plucked them. Ding-dong! Ding-dong! Suddenly, the originally overbearing sound of the zither quickly changed. A clear and melodious sound of the zither drifted out. This change was abrupt. At the same time that the sound of the zither changed, there was a strange power that dissipated into the void along with the notes. It seemed to be unknowingly triggering some kind of mysterious power in the void. Between heaven and earth, the endless sea of desire strangely fluctuated, and traces of the power of desire were drawn down from the void. At the same time, in the heavenly punishment world, the vast and boundless power of desire, along with the 10 fingers, flowed continuously through the 10 fingers and drilled into the zither strings. Along the zither strings, it spread out. They turned into mystical notes one after another. Since the first note began to play, Di-Shirtion's 10 fingers continued to dance, quickly brushing across the zither strings. There was a strange charm in the zither music, which was transmitted into the heart. His entire mind involuntarily became restless. His originally calm mind was suddenly filled with thoughts, and his mind, which was originally filled with desire, was unconsciously magnified by the zither music. The zither music, which was filled with desire, permeated the entire void. It filled every inch of the zither music. Almost instantly, the heavenly soldier was covered in the zither music. At the same time, the endless heavenly music of desire turned into notes and drilled madly into the heavenly soldier's body. What is this? The heavenly soldier looked at the notes, which he did not know whether they were illusory or real, and a cold determination appeared in his eyes. No matter what it is, destroy it for me. Hundreds of millions of resplendent saber energies erupted from Xiao Chen's body, surging towards the incoming musical notes, intending to crush them all into dust. However, the notes were extremely strange. They were not affected by the saber force at all, as if they were illusory existences. They appeared directly outside of the heavenly soldier's body, and as soon as they touched his body, they drilled into his body like water droplets that had touched a sponge. Waves of desire crazily drilled into the heavenly soldier's mind. Desire! The heavenly soldier felt that the notes that drilled into his body were like the whispers of a lover, and like the light of countless precious treasures. It was as if a group of young ladies were dancing, and the private parts of the ladies were faintly discernible. It was as if a voice was telling him that as long as he was willing, he could possess endless power in an instant. Thousands of beauties, billions of riches, endless power, and endless delicacies. Supreme superpower. As long as he was willing, he could immediately replace the weapon Ancestor and become the ancestor of the demon soldiers, the strongest person in the world. Humph! How can mere desires affect my state of mind? The heavenly soldier felt that the desire in his mind was growing, and the desire to replace the weapon Ancestor that was buried deep in the bottom of his heart was rapidly expanding. When he saw the desire in his mind, he could not help but feel a trace of fear in his heart. Those were the things that were buried deep in his heart, and when they were released, it was an extremely terrifying thing. His thoughts turned into weapons and crazily slashed at the desire to kill. However, the sound of the zither rang out continuously. The notes of desire drilled into his body continuously. Divine Song of Seven Sins, first movement. Heaven's heart. It was not the sound of the zither that moved him, but his own heart. Even though the heavenly soldier lived by killing, he still had all kinds of desires in his heart. Moreover, although these desires had been suppressed, the more they erupted, the stronger they became, and the more deeply rooted they became. Ha, lunatic D, hurry up and continue playing. This heavenly soldier looks like a cold killing weapon, but who would have thought that there would still be desires in his heart? The divine song of seven sins is extremely strange. As long as there is desire, no one can resist the sound of the zither. Dark was faintly excited. He chuckled strangely. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1081. Although the heavenly soldier was a different kind of killing machine, he could not avoid the desires in his heart. As long as one was a living being, they would have desires. They would want things, have wishes, and even have obsessions that could not be dispelled. These were the sources of desires. The divine song of seven sins was a strange song that was created to deal with these desires. As long as one had desires, they would not be able to resist the erosion of the music. As long as one was a living being, one could count on one's fingers the number of people who did not have desires, unless they were newborn babies. The heavenly soldier had desires. He enjoyed the thrill of killing. He wanted to reach the peak and have the same status as the weapon Ancestor. He wanted to replace the weapon Ancestor as the supreme ancestor of the tribe. Naturally, as soon as the Seven Sins divine song was played, the desire that had been suppressed in the depths of his heart was born, spreading at an astonishing speed. All kinds of desires appeared in his mind. They continuously eroded his mind. Even if he told himself that everything in front of him was fake and not real, he still couldn't help but feel endless fear in his heart. He desperately wanted to extinguish those desires that emerged one by one. But he could not destroy them all. He could not kill all of them. Countless desires continued to appear in his mind. It was like opening a demon's box. It could not be closed anymore. Woo. One could clearly see that the void, which was originally filled with the power of restriction, was suddenly filled with countless pitch-black chi that hung down from the void and let out waves of wailing. In the world, countless scenes of desire appeared. There were sad scenes, angry scenes, and erotic scenes. It was as if the entire world was in the midst of an explosion of desire. At the same time, the heavenly soldier in the void, not far away, seemed to have been immobilized. He strangely stopped in midair. Strange expressions appeared on his cold face. They were changing rapidly. It was as if his entire mind was immersed in desire. Tion saw this and did not relax. His face was still calm. His 10 fingers moved quickly on the strings of the guqin in a strange rhythm. The power of desire and ultimate Emperor realm power in his body flowed continuously into the strings. It took a lot of energy to pluck each string. The heavenly soldier's expression was clearly in a state of desire. Although he might not be affected by desire, it was still very effective. The second movement, the rise of evil. Tion had already practiced the seven sins divine melody no less than hundreds of thousands of times, millions of times. He was even more proficient in each movement to the point where he couldn't be any more proficient. With a thought, the sound of the zither began to play. As he listened, he immediately realized that the gentle sound of the zither, which was like the spring wind and rain, suddenly changed. The sound of the zither under his hand became hurried at an astonishing speed, and there was a trace of passion in it. Countless pitch-black notes continuously condensed from the strings and drilled into the heavenly soldier's body. Immediately, the celestial soldier felt like he had been teleported out of the forbidden land to a completely different place. It was a place where countless blades of all kinds were stabbed into the ground. There were so many demonic weapons and demonic treasures that one could not even count them all. Every one of them was a treasure of high quality. Each and every one of them had its own weapon soul. In the middle of these weapons there was a tall platform. On the platform, there was a huge and ferocious throne made up of countless weapons. Below the throne, there was a demonic god with 3,000 arms, 36 pairs of demonic wings, and a black demonic horn on his forehead. "Welcome back, heavenly soldier demonic ancestor." When the demonic god saw the heavenly soldier, he suddenly revealed a look of respect. He knelt down on one knee and kowtowed to the heavenly soldier. His voice was loud and clear. "Welcome back, heavenly soldier demonic ancestor." Around him, countless weapon souls knelt down and kowtowed to the heavenly soldier in unison. A vigorous aura pressed down on the heavenly soldier. "Heavenly soldier demonic ancestor? Weapon ancestor? Why are you kneeling to a junior? Are you killing the heavenly soldier?" When the heavenly soldier saw the scene around him, he did not know how to react. He told himself that this was just an illusion, and that it was not real. However, when he saw the weapon ancestor, who had stood at the top of the world for countless years, kneeling down on one knee, he was so shocked that he almost fell to the ground. He respected the weapon ancestor from the bottom of his heart. "Heavenly soldier demonic ancestor, you have been promoted to the supreme demonic ancestor. You are now the strongest person in the demonic weapon race, and the 10th demonic ancestor in the demonic god continent. It is only natural for you to accept the worship. Demonic ancestor, please ascend to the throne." When the weapon ancestor looked at the heavenly soldier, there was a strange look in his eyes. He suddenly spoke. "I am the demonic ancestor." Celestial soldier was taken aback. However, he immediately sensed that the power in his body was rising at an unbelievable speed. Late demonic emperor, peak demonic emperor, half-step demonic ancestor, demonic ancestor. In just a few breaths, the power in his body, and even his cultivation, broke through countless barriers and reached the demonic ancestor's realm. The feeling he had toward the outside world also changed. Control. A feeling of controlling everything, including all the things in the world, and even all the power in the world surged in his heart. This kind of power was simply too strong. He only felt that compared to his previous self, he could poke his previous self to death with a finger. The pleasure of controlling everything eroded his mind. He was immersed in it and could not extricate himself. It was like taking drugs. This is fake. This is all an illusion. This is all fake. How can I accept the worship of the weapon ancestor? I can't. I definitely can't. But if this is fake, I should be fine if I go up and sit, right? Yes, I'll just sit for a while. I'll leave. I'll just sit for a while. This is fake. Nothing will happen. The weapon ancestor won't know. The heavenly soldier's eyes showed signs of struggle. However, the feeling of controlling everything was so good that it could not be any better. No one would be willing to defend against power. However, there was still a trace of clarity in his heart. However, this clarity started to waver. Pata! The heavenly soldier involuntarily took a step forward. With this step, the originally silent surroundings started to shout, "Heavenly soldier, demonic ancestor, heavenly soldier, demonic ancestor, heavenly soldier, demonic ancestor." "Yes, I'll just sit for a while. I won't let anyone know." After taking a step forward, the heavenly soldier's heart was completely tilted. He took a deep breath and looked at the throne. The look in his eyes gradually became resolute. Without any hesitation, Shao Qin walked over to the throne, step by step. In the blink of an eye, he was on the high platform. He walked in front of the weapon ancestor and saw him kneel on one knee respectfully. In truth, the heavenly soldier felt an indescribable sense of joy. The feeling of standing on the head of the weapon ancestor, whom he used to look up to, was indescribable. The heavenly soldier walked in front of the throne, took a deep breath, and sat down. The feeling of being in control of unparalleled power grew crazily in his heart. As soon as he sat down, he had the feeling that he would never want to stand up again. Good, this is what I've always wanted. Sitting at the top and looking down on everyone is something I've always dreamed of. The heavenly soldier muttered to himself as he looked around. The resistance in his heart towards this feeling became weaker and weaker. A boundless sense of pride rose in his heart. He looked down at the experts kneeling before him, including the weapon ancestor. He could not help but point at the sky and shout, "I want this sky to no longer be able to cover my eyes. I want this earth to no longer be able to bind my heart. I want all the gods and demons in the sky to disappear." As soon as he finished speaking, the heavens and earth shook in unison. It was as if they were supporting his words. "How dare you!" Just as the heavenly soldier was about to enjoy the cheers of the countless weapon souls, a cold and harsh voice suddenly sounded in his ears. That voice was filled with a terrifying anger. It was as if it wanted to tear him into thousands of pieces in an instant. Who dares to scold me?" The heavenly soldier was immersed in his supreme state. When he heard that not only did his words not receive a response, but he was also scolded, he was immediately enraged. "I dare to scold you." The heavenly soldier opened his eyes and looked in front of him. Immediately, he saw that the weapon ancestor, who had been kneeling respectfully at his feet, had stood up. He coldly looked at the heavenly soldier, and there was a trace of terrifying anger in his eyes. "Weapon ancestor!" The heavenly soldier could not help but feel his heart clench, and he subconsciously spat out those words. "Humph! You unfilial descendant, you actually dare to commit treason and scheme to seize this ancestor's position. Do you really have the strength to do so?" The weapon ancestor coldly looked at the heavenly soldier, his eyes filled with hostility. "Weapon ancestor? Humph! In this place, I am the heavens, I am the earth. Even if you are the weapon ancestor, it is all fake. I am not afraid of you." The heavenly soldier was shocked at first, but when he felt that the energy in his body was still surging, he calmed down. He looked at the weapon ancestor and sneered without fear. He had no intention of standing up from his throne. The demon god continent had always been like this. Whoever was stronger would be the king, and whoever was the ancestor. The weak were destined to give way to the strong. No one could stop this trend. "You are courting death." The weapon ancestor's face was so cold that it seemed to be able to freeze the void around him. He snorted coldly. One of the 3,000 demonic hands was holding a strange ancient seal. He held the ancient seal and threw it at the heavenly soldier without hesitation. Sin calamity. Desire was the calamity, and desire was the power of sin. The seven sins' divine song was peerless. As long as it evoked the desire in one's heart, it could immediately turn that desire into the most terrifying calamity. If one were to die in the state of desire, one's soul would be completely destroyed. Even the immortal primordial spirit was no exception. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1082. This was the terrifying part of the Seven Sins Divine Melody. Tianbing sat on the throne and watched as the ancient seal came crashing down on him. His eyes were filled with shock. God-suppressing seal. Each of the weapon ancestors' 3,000 arms held a weapon. Every weapon was a terrifying weapon. Tianbing knew that the God-suppressing seal was one of the scariest weapons. Once it came crashing down, even a peerless expert would be smashed to pieces. Even the immortal primordial spirit would be sucked into the ancient seal and be suppressed. He would truly die. I am the demonic ancestor. Everything here is under my control. Blade wings cover the heavens, / The celestial soldier looked extremely confident. The wings on his back suddenly flew into the air and shot toward the ancient seal with lightning speed. They slashed at the ancient seal. Rumble! The blade wings and the God-suppressing seal collided. Suddenly, there was a loud explosion. The ancient seal and the blade wings were destroyed at the same time and turned into dust. No, I am the demonic ancestor. You are only a half-step demonic ancestor. How can you fight against me? Although the two of them were evenly matched, the celestial soldier's face revealed a trace of fear. He dared to fight against the weapon ancestor because he had the demonic ancestor's monstrous strength. Otherwise, he would not have dared to face the weapon ancestor head-on. I have already broken through to the demonic ancestor level. I am the real weapon ancestor. You're going to die. Kill, said the weapon ancestor with a cold smile. Instantly, the 3,000 arms turned into fiery wheels. Sabers, spears, swords, hooks, demonic steels, demonic rings, and other weapons were thrown at the celestial soldiers. Every attack seemed to have the power to shatter the heavens and earth. However, Tianbing had obtained the demonic ancestor's power in the state of desire. He stood up and formed a terrifying blade domain around him. He charged toward the weapon ancestor. Bang! 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 A series of violent collisions occurred. The moment the two demon ancestors exchanged blows, the battle reached its climax. The void around them crumbled continuously. Lunatic D, you miscalculated this time. You actually raised the heavenly soldier's power to the level of the demon ancestor in the realm of desire, which is the same as the weapon ancestor. Now that the two of them are in a stalemate, there is no way to suppress him. If I had known, I would have suppressed his cultivation to the level of sky demon. That way I could have easily killed him. Nether could not help but cry out anxiously when she saw the heavenly soldier in the state of lust and the fierce battle that was taking place inside. However, Shurtian was not too worried. If he did not increase Celestial Soldier's strength, Celestial Soldier would not have the courage to sit on the throne. Celestial Soldier would not have the courage to accept the worship of the weapon ancestor. Celestial Soldier would not have the desire to possess power. Without these, Celestial Soldier would not be able to indulge in his desires. These were all things that had to be done. However, since he dared to do this, he naturally had a way to deal with it. The Seven Sins Divine Melody had 7 movements. It could be said that each movement was closely related to the next movement. There is no hurry. If one decreases, the other increases. Naturally, we will be able to suppress Celestial Soldier. Shurtian calmly spat out a sentence. The sound of the zither in his hand suddenly changed. Suddenly, in his body, in the heavenly punishment world, strands of pure indestructible obsessions suddenly spurted out, flowing along his arm and quickly drilling into the 7 sins demonic zither. However, the strange thing was that there were only 6 indestructible obsessions that entered the demonic zither. They were sight, taste, fragrance, touch, will, and listen. These were the 6 desires obsessions of the 7 emotions and 6 desires. As the music rang out, Each of the obsessions condensed into a different note and quickly entered Celestial Soldier's body. Each note seemed indestructible and gave off a unique charm. 7 Sins Divine Melody. The third movement, 6 Desires. The music changed. Immediately, Celestial Soldier and Weapon Ancestor began to fight fiercely in the realm of desire. In the realm of desire, as long as one believed that it was real, then everything was real. The battle was extremely intense. Suddenly, 6 mysterious notes appeared in the air. Those notes were solid, and each note was different. Some of the notes contained countless delicacies, wine and delicacies. Some of the notes gave off all sorts of smells. Some of the notes were clear and chaotic. Wait a minute. Images of the 6 desires kept appearing in the note. These 6 notes were between illusion and reality. As soon as they appeared, one of the notes immediately imprinted itself into Celestial Soldier's body at a speed that the naked eye could not follow. Ah! Celestial Soldier could not stop that note in the midst of the battle. Once it touched his body, it mysteriously entered his body. After this one entered his body, the remaining 5 notes immediately followed suit and drilled into his body. At the same time, Celestial Soldier felt all sorts of desires appear in his mind without warning. All of a sudden, he had a strong desire for all sorts of delicacies. He was extremely sensitive to all sorts of smells. In his mind, he had a strong desire to spy on all sorts of things. It was as if he had an innate preference for all sorts of desires. It was as if he had always been fond of good food. For a moment, 6 different desires were constantly attacking his mind. Bang! His mind, which was originally focused on the battle, was suddenly distracted. Almost at the same time, Weapon Ancestor seized the opportunity to cut Celestial Soldier in half with his sword. At the same time, he attacked Celestial Soldier like a torrential storm. Obliteration! Tion seemed to be able to see Celestial Soldiers suffering with his own eyes. A cold smile appeared on his face as he pinched the strings of his guqin and uttered a word without warning. Bang! As soon as he finished speaking, he saw the Heavenly Soldier, who had been disturbed by the desire that had appeared out of nowhere in the realm of desire, suddenly have his eyes explode without warning. His eyes turned pitch black on the spot. Furthermore, the most terrifying thing was that the eyes that had exploded were unable to grow back. Ear obliteration! Tion uttered another word. At the same time, Celestial Soldier's ears exploded. Not only could he not hear, but he could not see either. Strangely, he had become blind and deaf. What's going on? My eyes, my ears, what's going on? Celestial Soldier's heart was filled with endless fear. The moment his eyes and ears exploded, he could no longer see or hear. He could only sense what was going on outside with his mind. Even his indestructible body was no longer able to do anything. The 6 desires of heaven and earth represented the 6 senses of a living being. The 6 senses gave birth to desires, and each sense was the source of a desire. The third movement was terrifying. First, it used the undying obsession to plant the 6 desires in the body of the Heavenly Soldier. At the same time, it used the power of the desire to destroy the source of the desire. It was as if the Heavenly Soldier's ears had been extinguished. Immediately, the Heavenly Soldier's desire to listen disappeared. When his eyes exploded, his desire to see disappeared. Plant the 6 desires. Destroy the 6 desires. Tion strummed the zither again and again. He continued to spit out orders. Taste obliteration. Touch obliteration. Nose obliteration. Boom boom boom. Celestial Soldier felt his body explode again and again. At the same time, his tongue, nose, and even the sense of touch on his skin were all destroyed. Everything was destroyed. Will obliteration. Tian's imperial true force and the power of desire poured into the 7 sins demonic zither. He picked up a string and plucked it. Ding dong! A crisp sound of the zither rang out. Ah! The heavenly soldier let out a short and shrill cry. Then, the heavenly soldier, who was fighting with the weapon Ancestor, suddenly froze. He fell from the sky and hit the ground. Then, there was no more sound coming from his body. All of his thoughts had strangely disappeared without a trace. Boom, boom, boom. At the same time, the boundless realm of desire started to collapse at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, the seemingly real world turned into countless pieces and disappeared completely. Tion stopped playing the zither? Celestial Soldier's body was still standing in midair. However, there was no trace of the primordial spirit in his body. It was as if he was dead, an empty shell without a soul. He died just like that? After a moment of silence, Dark muttered to himself in disbelief. He could not believe that Celestial Soldier, who was so domineering just a moment ago, had died in the realm of desire. One should know that this was a terrifying demon god with heaven-defying combat strength. Even in the ancient battlefield, he was one of the most powerful beings. If I'm not mistaken, Celestial Soldier has died. Tion looked at the body in midair and said calmly. At the same time, he glanced at the zither in his hand. He looked at the black body of the zither and the 3 remaining grooves. A light flashed in his hand, and a black spiritual pearl appeared in his hand. He placed it in the 7th groove. Whoosh! The body of the zither trembled violently. Immediately, the jade zither and the spiritual pearl merged together perfectly. A surge of pure lunar power quickly spread through the strings of the zither and dyed the snow-white strings pitch black. The power of desire in the jade zither started to merge with the zither under the support of the new origin energy. It strengthened the zither and became a superior treasure. How terrifying and domineering the 7 Sins divine melody is. It can even kill a peerless realm expert. No wonder it's one of the trump cards of the crazy emperor. Dark was shocked. He could not believe that the 6 Desires divine melody could produce such incredible destructive power. Attack power. He had directly killed a demon emperor. The last of the 6 great annihilations was the annihilation of will. It was the annihilation of one's will. What was will? It was the mind and thoughts. Once it was destroyed, the primordial spirit would disperse. It was a fatal blow. If one could not withstand it, they would die. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1083. Starting from the 3rd movement of the Divine Melody of 7 Sins, the real killer move was to plant the 6 desires. Even if one did not have these desires, they would still forcibly plant the 6 desires in one's body. Once the 6 desires were planted in one's body, even if one did not die and could escape, they would still be haunted by the 6 desires. It was unspeakably painful. Every time one desire was extinguished, one of the 6 senses would be taken away. If the desire to see was extinguished, one would never be able to see again and would be blind forever. No matter how high one's cultivation was, one would never be able to regenerate one's eyes. This was destroying the 6 senses from the root. It was extraordinarily terrifying. And this was only the 3rd movement. The 7 Sins divine melody had 7 movements in total. Fortunately, Tian Bing's will was eroded by his desires, so I was able to kill him in the 3rd movement. Otherwise, with his original strength, he could have at least lasted until the 4th movement. If the 4th movement can't kill it, then it will be difficult to kill the heavenly soldiers today. Sakra stood up and looked at the celestial soldier, who no longer had any fluctuations in his mind. He slowly exhaled. Fighting with the celestial soldier was definitely not easy. However, to not destroy his body and directly kill him, only the 7 Sins divine melody could do that. Because of the gift from the Ghost Emperor of Fengdu all those years ago, 4 of the 7 movements had been gathered. There were still 3 left. Even so, the Seven Sins Divine Melody was still one of the most important trump cards in his heart. Nether, this body is yours. Go and receive it. After carefully examining the body in front of him, and confirming that there was no remnant of Tian Bing's will, Di Shi Tian said in a low voice, "What? Crazy Emperor, you want to give this body to me?" Dark felt disbelief in his heart. Even his mouth involuntarily opened wide. His original agility had disappeared without a trace. He could not believe that everything he had just heard was true, but immediately, an indescribable joy surged from the bottom of his heart. Tian Bing was a demon overlord powerhouse. Although he was only at the middle stage of the demon overlord, his combat power was comparable to a peak demon overlord. Although his will and demon soul had fallen in the land of desire, the power in his body was still there. Once he seized the body, he could directly inherit most of the combat power. Underworld was a weapon soul, and its strength was at the unparalleled level. If it possessed a heavenly soldier, it would immediately possess the strength to dominate an area. To him, this was simply an exceptional opportunity. If I don't give it to you, am I supposed to give it to someone else? Hurry up and go. Di Shi Tian smiled faintly. Roar! Dark no longer hesitated. A blood-red divine dragon broke out from between Indra's eyebrows. The slender dragon body instantly crossed the boundary of the void. With a dragon's roar, the dragon's head drilled into the empty shell. Amidst the mighty dragon's might, it completely entered the heavenly soldier's body. Clang! 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 With a crisp sound, the silver-white blades on the heavenly soldier's body were eroded and replaced by a thick blood-red color, starting from the head. They turned into blood-red blades with a chilling aura. Scenes of the 19 levels of purgatory appeared on each of the blood-red blades. Countless images of punishments appeared, exuding a terrifying aura. The speed of the erosion was not slow. In the blink of an eye, the head had turned blood-red. At the same time, the blood-red blades kept surging on the head. A pair of ferocious dragon horns formed by the blood-red blades appeared on the head, and blood-red dragon inscriptions spread out from the blades. However, after controlling the head, the merging of the blades on the other parts of the body became unusually slow. It was not as fast as it was at the beginning. Crazy D, the power contained in this body is enormous. I can't completely control it in a short time. I need time to refine the power in this body. The body in front of him suddenly opened its eyes, which shone with a chilling blood-red light. As it spoke, the body shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. It turned into a beam of silver-white divine light with a hint of blood-red. In an instant, it pierced through the air, drilled into Di Shi Tian's forehead, and went straight into the nether prison. The entire body was connected to the nether prison. The origin energy in the nether prison kept pouring into the body. The speed of the blood-red erosion suddenly increased. The aura of nether kept deepening and spreading in the body. Di Shi Tian carefully observed and nodded. He believed that nether could completely take over this body, seize the power in it, and become his right-hand man. I didn't expect the weapon Ancestor to be sealed here. If I'm not wrong, it should be the core of this forbidden land, the forbidden red lotus. This is a little troublesome. If I really take the forbidden red lotus, I'm afraid I'll release a scourge. Di Shi Tian took a deep breath, and a hint of hesitation appeared between his brows. At the same time, the moment the heavenly soldier's divine soul dissipated. In the demon suppression valley, Mei Xin, who had been admiring herself in the demon suppression tower, suddenly changed her expression, and a hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. The heavenly soldier's aura has disappeared. How could this be? Mei Xin frowned slightly, and the entire demon suppression tower seemed to dim strangely. Her face was enough to change the color of heaven and earth. She stretched out a snow-white finger and gently touched her forehead, muttering to herself, although the heavenly soldier is only a middle-stage demon emperor, his status and physique make him a peak demon emperor. Logically speaking, unless it's a half-step sovereign or even a sovereign, no one can kill him. Even if they can't defeat him, it shouldn't be a problem for him to escape. She was puzzled, and muttered to herself, "The heavenly soldier went to the far west, which is close to the Forbidden Land. If I'm not wrong, it should be the place where the weapon Ancestor is sealed. Could it be that the heavenly soldier found something? Or did he meet the experts of the Guardian clan that sealed the weapon Ancestor?" She thought to herself, but did not have many clues. She could only make some simple guesses. After a while, she looked up into the sky and said, "Forget it. My power has already started to corrode the demon suppression tower. It won't be long before I can break out of the tower. When that time comes, I'll take a good look at how many experts there are on the purple gold mainland." After saying that, the bewitching heart, who was lying on top of the heart, lazily stretched her arms and slowly closed her seductive eyes. At this moment, in the boundless void, there was a strange island that was constantly shuttling through the spatial faults. Countless corpses were densely distributed in every inch of the area. There were countless corpses, and every one of them looked extremely fresh. Even their flesh and blood had not rotted. It was as if they were indestructible bodies. They were densely distributed in every inch of the island, and looked extremely terrifying. Moreover, the aura that was emitted from this strange island contained a supreme aura, as if it was above everything in the world, and nothing could be more noble than this island. At the same time, there were strange trees that were formed by skulls on the island. They were emitting an evil light. At the center of the island there was a strange altar. On the altar, there was a black heavenly coffin lying quietly. On the strange heavenly coffin, there were images of mountains of corpses and seas of blood. It looked like it was filled with the aura of death and carried a chilling intent. There were strange runes that kept flashing on the heavenly coffin. Every time it flashed, it would absorb a large amount of the aura of death from the surroundings and integrate it into the heavenly coffin. If someone were to appear at this moment and see the scene inside the heavenly coffin, they would be able to recognize with a single glance that there was a body lying inside the heavenly coffin. That body appeared somewhat illusory and blurry, as if it was only an illusion. However, the endless aura of death in the surroundings was refined by the heavenly coffin, and it turned into a mysterious force that poured into the figure. Suddenly, the figure started to change strangely. It was illusory for a moment, solid for a moment. The cycle continued. Finally, after repeated cycles, the figure completely condensed into a physical body, and flesh was formed. From the looks of it, it was true Lord Ku Rong, who had self-exploded and died. Whoosh! True Lord Ku Rong lay quietly in the heavenly coffin. His eyes, which were originally closed, opened in an instant, and there were 2 rays of hatred in his eyes. "Humph! Monster Emperor, oh Monster Emperor, how do you know that as long as I have this heavenly coffin, I will never die? Even if you destroy my spirit, you still won't be able to kill me. Bet? You want to find this true Lord's hiding place? That's simply a fool's dream. If my hiding place could be found so easily, then I, Ku Rong, would have fallen long ago in ancient times." Ku Rong sneered and sat up in the heavenly coffin. He opened the lid and walked out of the coffin. He pointed at the altar and shouted softly, "Heavenly peeking mirror!" Boom! The altar shook slightly, and a crystal-clear ancient mirror appeared out of thin air. The ancient mirror floated in the air and hung in mid-air. It expanded in an instant, and there was a flash of divine light in the ancient mirror. Immediately, countless lifelike images appeared in the mirror. Endless mountain ranges, countless cities, countless living beings, and all kinds of things appeared in the ancient mirror in an instant. Every scene seemed to be the most real thing, a scene that was developing. The figures of the monster clan in the various mountain ranges appeared in the mirror one after another. Even the sky-toppling ancient painting was no exception. The demon court appeared in the ancient mirror as well. Looking at the demon court in the mirror, there was still an endless stream of people and carriages. Countless heavenly horses pulled carriages back and forth, and countless cultivators entered the ancient city continuously, chatting excitedly. The various armies of the monster clan did not seem to show any signs of large-scale mobilization. That's strange. The demon court doesn't seem to have changed much. Logically speaking, since the monster emperor made a bet with me, why hasn't he mobilized the forces of the demon court to investigate my whereabouts? True Lord Ku Rong had a puzzled look on his face as he muttered thoughtfully. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1084. No, the Demon Emperor must have already made his move. If I lose this bet, he will have to return all the treasures that he took from me in the past. That's more than a dozen innate spiritual treasures. Even an unparalleled expert would not let go of such wealth. With his temperament, it's impossible for him to give up the benefits that he has already obtained. Therefore, he must have secretly sent his subordinates to investigate my whereabouts. But where are they? Ku Rong only hesitated for a moment before he immediately murmured in his heart with certainty. Putting himself in the Demon Emperor's shoes, if he had more than a dozen innate spiritual treasures in his hands, he would definitely not give them away so easily. That would be cutting off his own flesh, and he would definitely not do it. Therefore, he was certain that the Demon Emperor must have made his move. Moreover, he must have already begun to investigate his whereabouts. However, this kind of investigation should be quite covert. Anyway, he would definitely not believe that the Demon Emperor would do nothing. Humph! Demon Emperor, oh Demon Emperor, no matter how covert your methods are, I'll go all out with you. With this sky-peeking mirror, I'm not afraid that I can't find your subordinates in the dark. How can my immortal island be so easy to find? Even if you're the Demon Emperor and have the ability to reach the heavens, you'll definitely lose this bet. Ku Rong muttered to himself with strong confidence. Immediately, on the altar, he used the sky-peeking mirror to spy on the purple-gold mainland. He kept a close watch on the demon court. Even the slightest movement in the wind and grass could not escape his eyes. However, he did not know that Di Shirtian did not send any demon clans to investigate his location at all. At this moment, in a mysterious mountain range in the purple-gold mainland, on top of a tall mountain, there stood a somewhat dilapidated palace. This palace seemed to have been standing there since ancient times. Moreover, the surroundings were unusually dilapidated, and there was no trace of human habitation. It was strangely tense. In the depths of the palace, on a huge blood-colored altar, there was an illusory old man floating in the air. There was a faint majesty exuding from his body. There was no anger, but there was a majesty. Below the altar, a slender young man in yellow robes stood respectfully. He gave off a burly aura as he stood there. An ancient green lamp seemed to have taken root on his shoulder, giving off a demonic glow. The flame in the ancient lamp was abnormally blazing. Tenacity. It was full of vitality. One could see that there seemed to be countless figures of the demon clan emerging from the flames. Master! The young man bowed respectfully to the illusory figure. Tianyu, are you blaming me for not allowing you to meet your brother? You won't be able to reunite with your mother and little sister. The old man looked at the young man below and shook his head with a faint smile. His eyes unconsciously fell on the antique lamp. No, there must be a reason for Master's decisions. I don't dare to have any objections, the young man said respectfully. If one listened carefully, they could vaguely hear a trace of strange emotion in his voice. Ha ha! You little guy, if you have any resentment in your heart, just say it. Do you think I'll blame you? The old man shook his head with a chuckle. However, now is not the time for you to meet. You still have a difficult task on your shoulders. Your brother has done a good job. The rise of the demon clan is all thanks to your brother's efforts. Now we have tens of billions of demon clan members, and hundreds of thousands of demon clan members are born every day. He even established the demon court to gather fate. Now, the fate of the demon clan has completely recovered from its decline and is glowing with vitality. Our fate is soaring. The old man's words revealed an extremely gratified expression. In this world, there is nothing that can stop my brother. A trace of pride appeared on the young man's face. Ha ha! All right, now that the demon clan's fate is soaring, it is time for the demon clan to rise again. Although the demon court now has a considerable foundation, we still lack the top powerhouses. We might let the other clans look down on us. The old man took a deep breath and said in a low voice, Tianyu, this time, I have a mission for you to complete. When the young man heard this, his expression turned solemn and he immediately answered without hesitation, Please instruct me, master. Back in the ancient times, the demon clan awed the myriad worlds. Countless geniuses emerged one after another, and countless powerhouses emerged. Among them were 36 ancient demon gods, 3 half-step sovereign primogenitors. No other clans could contend with us. We occupied the leading position of the world, and no other clans dared to provoke us. Our might shook the ancient times. Even sovereigns treated us with great respect. The old man spoke slowly, word by word. His face was radiant, as if his mind had returned to the most glorious time of the past. This kind of power could be said to have suppressed the myriad worlds and dominated the ancient times. 36 ancient demon gods. This number of ancient demon gods was definitely far more powerful than any other clan. In the ancient times, even the top 10 clans at their peak had at most 10 or so peerless powerhouses. They couldn't compare to the demon clan at all. Moreover, there was a large number of peak ancient demon clan members behind them. This level of power could only be described as terrifying. But most terrifying of all were the 3 half-step sovereign primogenitors. They were the truly frightening existences, the ultimate stabilizing force. What did it mean to be a half-step sovereign? Any one of them could easily deal with the joint attack of 10 peerless powerhouses. So long as a single half-step sovereign existed in a clan, they would be able to intimidate countless thieves and villains. They would be able to stabilize the clan for countless years, ensuring that the clan would not be wiped out. Besides, the demon clan had 3 of them. What did that mean? When the young man heard this, a look of yearning appeared on his face. Master, could it be that all of the demon clan's almighty experts perished in the ancient times? The young man asked in confusion. Ha, of course not, the old man said decisively. Although a portion of our almighty experts perished during the devil tribulation, a portion of them survived. However, because their injuries were too severe, they fell into a deep slumber. Then, what about the 3 primogenitors? The young man asked cautiously. In the past, the 3 primogenitors fought against the half-step devil patriarchs of the devil god continent. They were surrounded and attacked. Not only were they heavily injured, but they were also sealed. As for where they were sealed, and whether or not they're still alive, I'm afraid very few people in the world know. The old man's expression dimmed. Master, what you mean is that I should go and awaken those slumbering seniors. The young man's mind spun, and he immediately understood the meaning behind it. That's right. The demon clan's karmic luck has greatly increased. The power of karmic luck will increase their recovery speed. Furthermore, you have the ancient suppressing devil lamp, which is connected to the karmic luck of the demon clan. You're the best choice for this mission. If I'm not mistaken, the upcoming calamity will be unprecedentedly fierce. Right now, the most important thing is to strengthen the demon clan. The old man's voice was heavy. Don't worry, master. I'll definitely do it well. The young man's face was filled with determination. At some point in time, the tightly shut palace slowly opened and closed. A figure instantly broke through the air and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Fog appeared in the surroundings and shrouded the palace. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared from the world as if it had never existed in the first place. In the Forbidden Land. De Chertion stood where he was and frowned slightly. He seemed to be deep in thought. It was difficult for him to make a decision. However, he was a decisive person. He relaxed his brows and a determined look appeared in his eyes. "We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Regardless of whether the weapon Ancestor is really sealed here, there's no reason for me to leave without even seeing the face of the Forbidden Land. I'd like to see what's so amazing about the legendary weapon Ancestor." De Chertion took a deep breath and no longer hesitated. He took another step forward. Rumble! Immediately, the power of the countless seals gathered together and formed a terrifying Tao diagram that crushed towards Dishi Bideo. Each of the Tao diagrams could crush a peerless expert to death. Demon Refining Cauldron. Indra wasn't afraid of the Tao diagram that was crushing down. With a soft cry, the Demon Refining Cauldron's rotation speed began to expand at a rate several times faster than before. A black vortex formed around him. That scene was extremely similar to when the unfettered king unleashed his northern underworld heavenly transformation. A strong devouring force sucked the Tao diagrams into the Demon Refining Cauldron. As the Demon Refining Cauldron spun, the seals were quickly refined. At the same time, the royal true force in his body was also being poured into the cauldron at a shocking speed. The seals in this area were comparable to the peerless expert. To form a god-sealing sphere, not only would it take time, it would also consume a large amount of true force. It was extremely difficult. Pata. Sakra walked forward step by step, allowing the countless restrictions to engulf him. He wasn't afraid at all as he continued to walk forward. He approached the 9th layer step by step. Be careful, lunatic D. The 8th layer is already capable of suppressing peerless expert. Once you enter the 9th layer, the seals inside will be comparable to half-step sovereigns. If you're not careful, you'll be suppressed. Dark didn't forget to give him a reminder as it merged with the body. It's fine. I just want to personally experience the strongest power of the Forbidden Land. De Chertion didn't back down. Since he had come to the Forbidden Land, he had no intention of giving up halfway. Bang, bang, bang. Step by step, he took steady steps forward. At the same time, as he got closer to the center, the seals around him became more powerful and terrifying. The Space Cloister seal could trap a mighty expert inside. The Myriad Poison Extermination seal could poison a mighty expert to death. The Weapon Soul Absolute Heaven seal could form countless weapons. Each seal contained earth-shattering power. Lightning and fire intersected. Even the 3-legged golden crow and the 5 divine beasts appeared. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1086. Today is the 3rd update. If you have a guaranteed monthly vote, please help me throw in a few phoenixes and countless sun-like 3-legged golden crows. Almost instantly, the entire world turned against De Chertion and turned into a terrifying attack. Covering the sky and covering the earth, it was endless. Not good, Madman D. There are already tens of thousands of Tao diagrams in the Demon Refining Cauldron. These Tao diagrams are already the limit of the Demon Refining Cauldron. If it devours any more restrictions, the Demon Refining Cauldron will not be able to suppress the various Tao diagrams in the cauldron. It can't devour any more, Dark cried out in horror. Inside the demon dwelling, the Jade Demon Refining Cauldron constantly emitted a dazzling light as countless mysterious runes endlessly entered the cauldron. The entire Jade Cauldron instantly became incomparably heavy. Even the demon dwelling that it was suppressing was violently trembling and emitting muffled sounds. It was faintly possible to see terrifying cracks on the cauldron. The Demon Refining Cauldron was not invincible. It also had its limits. Although it had been constantly transforming with De Chertion's growth, it still could not devour restrictions without limit. If it had been before, it would have been fine. After all, those restrictions did not pose much of a threat to itself. With the ability of the demon refining cauldron, it could instantly condense the restrictions into a god-imprisoning sphere. But now, each of these restrictions was a threat to a peerless expert. It was far more difficult to condense them. Now that it had devoured close to 30,000 restrictions, it had reached the limit of the demon refining cauldron. If it devoured any more, it would immediately cause the restrictions in the cauldron to explode instantly. The entire jade cauldron would be blown to smithereens. Even the monster residents would suffer immeasurable and painful damage. Break. Tion also sensed the situation in his body. Without hesitation, he stopped devouring the restrictions. However, he seemed to speak very calmly. Rumble. Immediately, a purplish-golden ripple spread out in all directions with him as the center. Every inch of space twisted strangely wherever it passed, vibrating trillions of times. Within the range of the sound wave, it was possible to see the whistling restrictions being reduced to dust by the vibrations. They completely dispersed, vanishing into nothingness. The sound wave also contained an emperor's will that could not be disobeyed. Crack. Indra was like an emperor walking in the world. Outside his body, the millions of restrictions were all blocked by him, and the myriad of tribulations couldn't even touch his body. Without devouring restrictions, Tion's speed was extremely fast. Even if there were countless thorns along the way, they did not pose much of a threat. In the blink of an eye, he had already appeared outside the 9th restriction area. Looking at the 9th restriction area that was filled with countless wisps of purple-gold restriction aura, Tion's heart thumped violently. He could clearly feel that every wisp of purple-gold restriction aura was filled with a noble and domineering aura. It was as if every wisp of restriction aura was filled with countless mysterious and domineering restrictions that were constantly evolving and deducing. Every wisp was as heavy as Mount Tai. When it pressed down on him, it could crush his immortal body. The purple-gold restriction aura was filled with a noble and domineering aura. They were the kings of restriction auras, the kings of restriction auras. The boundless power of the forbidding aura was like countless powerful deities standing in front of Qin Nan. Lunatic D, these restrictions are the most terrifying in the Forbidden Land. Every wisp of them contains unimaginable power. Legend has it that a forbidden storm will appear in the Forbidden Land every 9 days. At that time, all the restrictions in the restriction area will be instantly entangled. The restriction aura of the 9th restriction area will appear in the 1st restriction area, and it will create the most chaotic and violent scene. At that time, any place in the Forbidden Land will suffer a destructive blow. There have already been peerless experts who have fallen in the Forbidden Storm. It's a forbidden zone for living beings. Why don't we come back later? Dark looked at the purple-gold aura in front of him with great fear. He hesitated for a moment before he spoke to persuade Tion. Tion's pupils contracted slightly. He was not swayed by Dark's words. He said decisively, "An emperor can retreat when he's not a match. He can hibernate for 10 years, 100 years, and then seek revenge. However, if he doesn't even have the courage to try and face it, then he has lost the courage to move forward and fearlessly." As his voice fell, he emitted a fearless aura. He lifted his foot and stepped into the 9th restriction area. Rumble! As soon as he entered the 9th restriction area, he could clearly see wisps of purple-gold aura entangling at a speed visible to the naked eye. There was a violent tumble. Ga. In the blink of an eye, a purple-gold skull that was hundreds of thousands of feet tall suddenly appeared in front of him. Purple-gold flames flickered in the skull's eyes. Its mouth opened and closed, making strange sounds. The flames seemed to be able to stare at one's spirit. Moreover, the skull was not illusory. It was a real state. Every inch of the skull was covered with countless bizarre formations that were constantly changing. Staring at Tion, it opened its mouth and swallowed Tion. The mouth was like the most terrifying and bottomless abyss. It emitted an immeasurably powerful force and moved as fast as lightning. In an instant, it swallowed De Chertion into the skull. Roar, 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 roar. Within the skull, one could see countless huge skeleton emperors leading countless skeleton armies. They swept toward De Chertion crazily, the monstrous power of death constantly eroding his flesh. All kinds of restrictive spells flashed in the skulls, blotting out the sky and covering the earth. The terrifying soul fire ignited the soul fire and burned one's soul. All kinds of methods filled every inch of the skull in an instant. Heavenly punishment, divine annihilation. In just a few breaths of time after being swallowed, a shout exploded from within. At the same time, a bright purple-gold divine light instantly burst out of the skull. A huge hole was blasted in the top of the incomparably hard skull. A figure instantly shuttled out of the cave. He left the 9th restriction area and appeared in the 8th restriction area. What a domineering 9th restriction area! No wonder there are rumors that the 9th restriction area is a god's forbidden zone. Even this emperor felt threatened by a restriction. No wonder he dared to say that only half-step sovereigns can pass through the 9th restriction area and see the forbidden red lotus. De Chertion's face was extremely solemn. In just a few breaths of time, he had personally experienced the terror of the 9th restriction area. The restriction just now was called the 10,000 Flaming Soul Restriction. That restriction directly targeted one's soul and soul. It could ignite the soul fire and cause one to burn to death. He was very sure that ordinary peerless experts would really die after entering the 9th restriction area. Could this forbidden red lotus not be a top-tier Khanate spiritual treasure, but a Khanate cardinal treasure that's even stronger than Khanate spiritual treasures? This thought flashed through De Chertion's mind involuntarily. He couldn't help but think so. Even a top-tier Khanate spiritual treasure couldn't completely suppress a half-step sovereign. Even if it was suppressed, it would be forcefully torn apart. However, the forbidden red lotus had suppressed the weapon Ancestor for tens of thousands of years without loosening at all. This was already more powerful than a top-tier Khanate spiritual treasure. Lunatic D, what should we do now? Dark looked at the 9th restriction area that was like a natural chasm in front of him, a little discouraged. Humph! If I want to go in, no one can stop me. If I can't force my way in, then I'll have to be flexible. There's still a chance. De Chertion's eyes flashed, and a countermeasure naturally appeared in his mind. Sky-stealing sun-swapping! De Chertion shouted softly and reached out his hand to grab the 9th restriction area. Extreme Emperor Creation Palm, Sky-stealing sun-swapping. Under his palm, a purple-gold light flashed strangely. When he looked again, he had caught a wisp of purple-gold restriction aura in his hand. He had directly absorbed a wisp of restriction aura from it. Restriction aura, enter my body! Sakura opened his mouth and swallowed the wisp of restriction chi in front of him. In an instant, he quickly integrated the restriction chi into his flesh and blood, and even into the lotus seed in the 12th grade black lotus that condensed the absolute Emperor Rui change. Crackle! Crisp sounds like frying beans flashed around him. Purple light flashed in his eyes. Extreme Emperor Creation Transformation! De Chertion's mind moved, and his body shook slightly. In the blink of an eye, one could see that his body, and even his flesh and blood, had transformed in an instant. Where he originally stood, a purple-gold supreme restriction aura that was 1,000 feet tall stood up like a divine pillar that reached the sky. Inside, countless restrictions were constantly disappearing. A strong supreme restriction aura burst out. Whoosh! The supreme restriction aura rushed into the 9th restriction area without hesitation. Rumble! As soon as it entered, countless wisps of restriction aura that were only as thick as buckets started to surge violently. They emitted a divine aura of respect towards the supreme restriction aura. They all retreated outwards, as if they were worshipping an emperor. Haha, why didn't I think of it? Crazy D, the royal manifestation transformation you created back then can be said to be one of the best transformation techniques in the world. As long as you transform, you can immediately transform into any kind of living being, even objects, without any scruples. Even your flesh and blood will change instantly. No divine ability can distinguish your identity. Quick, let's go and take a look at the forbidden red lotus. Since ancient times, no one knows what this supreme treasure looks like. When Ming saw that Di Shirtian's supreme restriction aura had entered the 9th restriction area, not only was he not attacked, but the restriction aura even treated him as their emperor and was incomparably respectful. He couldn't help but be enlightened and laughed strangely. His eyes lit up. Let's go! After seeing that this trick was effective, Di Shirtian did not hesitate and quickly rushed to the core area of the Forbidden Land. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1087. The second update has been delivered. The third update may be delayed. The sovereign forbidden chi formed by Sakra could be said to be unbridled in this forbidden land. Everywhere it passed, all the forbidden chi would retreat in a subservient manner. They respectfully made way for it. The speed of its advance was unusually fast. In the blink of an eye, it had crossed thousands of miles and appeared at the edge of the core of the forbidden land. Hiss! When it was close to the core area, even though Di Shirtian's mind was firm, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart and gasp. He looked at the scene in front of him in shock. This is the forbidden red lotus! Ming could not help but exclaim as he looked in front of him in shock. At the core of the forbidden land, there was an incomparably huge blood-red lotus standing tall. This red lotus was as red as blood. Every inch of the lotus was a blood-red crystal. It looked like an unbelievable blood-red crystal. It was so perfect that one would have the illusion that one's mind would be completely immersed in it just by looking at it. This red lotus had a total of 24 grades. In the red lotus, one could clearly see that there were mysterious forbidden runes constantly flashing and disappearing. Every forbidden rune revealed the aura of the forbidden origin. One could see that there were billions of forbidden runes circulating inside almost every moment. They carried endless power. It was as if every forbidden rune had the power to seal heaven and earth. There were a total of 129,600 forbidden runes on the red lotus. They flickered around the red lotus, making it look extremely mysterious. Every time it flickered, a large amount of forbidden energy would be spewed out from the red lotus. It poured into the entire forbidden land. There was no end to it. The pressure that was emitted from the red lotus. It was so strong that it was difficult to estimate. Any wisp of it could crush a mountain. Since the second Tao verification, this was the first time Di Shirtian smelled the aura of death. Under the pressure from the red lotus, he could clearly feel that he could be crushed to death by the forbidden red lotus at any time. That kind of inconceivable pressure was far more terrifying than what he felt himself. It was a threat from an absolute power. It was far more powerful than an unparalleled expert. Above the red lotus, it was a little girl who looked to be only 7 or 8 years old. She wore a red dress and had long blood-red hair. Her face was pure and innocent, and she looked like she was carved from jade. She looked like the cutest little fairy. She was sitting on a red lotus, looking very lovable. However, there were 2 men and 1 woman standing in front of her. Each of these 3 almighties possessed the tyrannical strength of a peerless expert. Among the 2 men, one was a young man and the other was an old man. The young man held a mysterious pyramid in his hand, which gave off a golden divine radiance. There were countless believers praying inside. The old man held a scepter in his hand. There was a gray crystal embedded in the scepter, and the crystal gave off an aura of death. The last woman was a beautiful young girl. She wore a crystal-clear bracelet on her wrist. Any one of the three of them was an expert capable of suppressing the heavens in the outside world. However, when they faced this little girl in red, who did not seem to possess any aura of an expert, they revealed respectful expressions. If this scene was seen by others, they would most likely be dumbfounded. How noble were these peerless experts! How could they show such expressions? These three are the Golden Battle God, the Heavenly Lord of Death, and the Forbidden Heavenly Maiden. Didn't they die in the ancient era? Why are they here? I didn't see them at all during the ancient war. Underworld couldn't help but be surprised as he looked at the three Almighties. The Golden Battle God, the Heavenly Lord of Death, and the Forbidden Heavenly Maiden? Tion couldn't help but ponder. Underworld explained. As it turned out, these three Almighties were already famous in the ancient era. However, they suddenly disappeared without any warning. According to the cultivators who saw them one last time, they disappeared after entering the primal chaos. The three of them were never seen again. That was why there were rumors that the three of them had encountered some kind of unpredictable disaster in the primal chaos and had completely died. There had been no news of them since then. If it hadn't seen the unique treasures in their hands with its own eyes, it wouldn't have recognized them immediately. Interesting. It seems that their disappearance in the ancient era was intentional. It seems that it has a lot to do with this forbidden red lotus, Tion thought to himself. However, he didn't immediately do anything. He only quietly listened to the conversation on the red lotus. Greetings, Miss Red Lotus. The three Almighties respectfully greeted the little girl in unison. Did you find any clues in the primal chaos this time? The little girl blinked and glanced at the three Almighties' faces. She asked in a clear and melodious voice that sounded like the sound of nature. Miss, we still didn't find any trace of the first miss this time. The lotus seed you gave us also didn't react at all. The Forbidden Heavenly Maiden took a deep breath and replied with a slightly nervous expression. After a moment of hesitation, she couldn't help but ask, Miss, could it be that the first miss isn't in the primal chaos at all? That's impossible. The little girl immediately shook her head and said with certainty, My sister must be in the primal chaos. If she leaves the primal chaos, I'll be able to sense her no matter if she's in the Demon God continent or the Purple Gold continent. After that, she glanced at the three Almighties and said, I've said that as long as you can find my sister, not only will I help you remove the restriction in your bodies, but I'll also tell you about a divine tomb. However, if you still don't find anything, don't blame me for being merciless. There was an indescribable sense of authority in her word. Drip. At some point in time, a thin layer of sweat had already appeared on the foreheads of the three supreme beings. Hearing the threat in her words, they hurriedly said respectfully, Please rest assured, Mississippi. We will do our best to find him. You may go. The little girl waved her snow-white hand when she heard that. Whoosh! The wave of her hand seemed to contain incredible power. The three Almighties standing on the red lotus were eerily sent away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Humph! Humph! After the little girl sent the three Almighties away, she couldn't help but snort coldly. A strange look flashed across her eyes as she muttered to herself, The three of them are really useless. If it weren't for the fact that I can't leave this place now, I wouldn't have needed them. After searching for so long, there's still no news of my sister. There was a trace of sadness on her face. She looked as if she had been abandoned, and people couldn't help but feel pity for her. The three of them are useless. I might as well find someone else to help me. He'll do. The little girl's eyes turned and suddenly looked at the huge supreme restriction that Tion had transformed into. She waved at him. Oh no. After Sakura saw the girl's expression, he immediately had a bad feeling in his heart. Without thinking, he instantly wanted to escape. However, just as he was about to escape, a mysterious force silently wrapped around him. The surrounding space was also inexplicably confined at the first moment. The scene outside his body suddenly changed. When he looked again, he had already appeared on the forbidden red lotus that was tens of thousands of feet in size. At the same time, his body that had turned into the supreme restriction instantly reversed and transformed back into his original body. The little girl blinked and looked at Di Shirtian as she asked in a childish voice, "You're the Shifter Emperor? You're the forbidden red lotus?" Di Shirtian also asked. Since he had been discovered, he didn't plan to hide it anymore. However, he didn't expect this harmless-looking little girl in front of him to have such terrifying power. He instantly understood that in this forbidden land, there was probably nothing that could be hidden from her eyes. It seemed like he had seen how Zhang Xian had turned into the exalted supreme forbidding aura. Hearing that, the little girl pondered for a moment before nodding. "Just now I saw you fighting with that strange thing that had blades all over its body. Big brother, you're very powerful," Red Lotus said in a childish voice with clear eyes. That expression didn't seem to have the supreme majesty of the forbidden red lotus that suppressed the heavens. Instead, she looked like an ordinary little girl. It made people feel close to her. It made people feel inexplicably relaxed. Even Di Shirtian felt an inexplicable sense of closeness, as if the person in front of him was his own sister. However, it was only for a moment before he became vigilant and immediately got rid of all the abnormalities. "Compared to you, my power shouldn't be in Miss Red Lotus's eyes." Di Shirtian looked at the girl in front of him calmly and slowly spat out a sentence. When the girl heard that, her expression couldn't help but change slightly. She stood up, and her expression seemed to completely change in an instant. A cold and indifferent expression appeared. Her body naturally emitted a powerful pressure. It was almost suffocating, as expected of the Shifter Emperor. "What a tenacious will," Red Lotus said coldly. Terrifying ice crystals seemed to condense in the air in an instant. "I, Red Lotus, have heard of the Shifter Emperor's fame. Rumor has it that your demon court is an unparalleled divine city designed by Tianjizi. It needs the 4 cardinal heavenly gates, the forbidden red lotus, the cloud-gathering banner, and many other natural spiritual treasures to be integrated into the ancient city to have the power to suppress eternity." She paused and glanced at Di Shirtian's face. "Then," she continued, "if I'm not wrong, you came to the Forbidden Land to get me, right?" Although it was a question, her tone was extremely certain. "That's right." Di Shirtian was a decisive emperor. From Red Lotus's words, he could tell that this little girl in front of him was definitely not as simple as he thought. There was no need to deny it, and he didn't care to deny it. "Then, do you still have the confidence to take me away now?" Red Lotus looked at him meaningfully and asked. "No!" Di Shirtian said calmly. "To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation." Chapter 1088. The third update has been delivered. Brothers who still have monthly tickets, I am in urgent need of monthly tickets. Indeed, before seeing the forbidden red lotus with his own eyes, Di Shirtian still had a glimmer of hope in his heart. However, after seeing it with his own eyes, this thought had been suppressed to the bottom of his heart. He was almost certain that the power of the forbidden red lotus had surpassed the world and was close to the power of a sovereign. At this time, even if Di Shirtian knew that he had many trump cards, he still did not have absolute confidence in subduing the forbidden red lotus. The little girl in front of him looked cute, but the power contained in her body was earth-shattering. However, Di Shirtian believed that this situation was only temporary. Once his strength increased, sooner or later, he would still be able to subdue the forbidden red lotus. "Then do you want to take me away?" Hong Lian's originally cold face seemed to have suddenly thawed. A natural smile appeared on her face as she blinked her eyes. She was like an affectionate young girl looking at her lover. It was full of gentleness. This kind of sudden change from indifference to a clingy expression. Not only was there no warning signs, but there was also no repulsion. It was as if it was natural. It immediately dispelled the coldness from before. Of course! De Chertion secretly activated the Emperor Tyrant Heart technique in his heart, guarding his mind. He did not dare to relax in front of the girl in front of him. Well, Red Lotus will follow Big Brother from now on. Red Lotus's eyes became clear, full of innocence, with a pure and flawless smile, full of joy. However, after a pause, her tone changed, and she said, however, Red Lotus has a small request. As long as Big Brother can do it, Red Lotus will follow Big Brother from now on. As she said that, her expression became serious. You want me to help you find your sister? Sakura took a deep breath and secretly said in his heart, sure enough, she is a little witch. This change in temperament is simply fatal. If it wasn't for my firm will, I'm afraid I would have been unknowingly affected by her, and my mind would have been led by her. 100 transformation demoness, she really is 100 transformation demoness. Every word and action of hers can affect one's mind. This Red Lotus temperament is so strange and changeable. Lunatic D, you have to be careful. Ming was also secretly amazed. Red Lotus's temperament seemed to be able to change at any time. While changing, there was not a single flaw. It was as if it was natural and could be considered perfect. It made people's minds unconsciously change along with the changes in his expression. Yes. Red Lotus once again revealed the appearance of an obedient little girl. She nodded vigorously and said, Big Brother Shifter Emperor, Red Lotus has not seen Big Sister for many years. If you can find my sister, both of us will help you. That pitiful appearance made it impossible for others to refuse. It was as if any refusal was a sin. Good. But how do I find your sister? De Chertion was not fooled by the appearance of the Red Lotus. However, he did not give up on the opportunity in front of him. He pondered for a moment and asked. He faintly sensed that perhaps this was an opportunity to subdue the forbidden Red Lotus. As long as there was a chance, he would not let it go easily. When Red Lotus heard De Chertion's answer, a bright smile bloomed on her face. With a gentle wave of his hand, a red light instantly shot out from between his eyebrows and drilled into the mind of the Sakura. The speed of the red light was unbelievably fast. There was no chance to dodge as it directly entered the mind of the Sakura. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the scenery in front of him suddenly changed. Boom, boom, boom. Immediately, De Chertion felt as if there was a terrifying bolt of lightning in his mind. Suddenly, a strange scene appeared. His entire mind was instantly immersed in it. It was as if he was there. What appeared before his eyes was a dusky world. In this world, there was no light, no water, and no time. There was not even the slightest sound as space passed. Countless gray gases intertwined together, bobbing up and down. They were constantly tumbling, evolving into all kinds of terrible disasters and creations. It emitted the aura of origin. For some reason, the strange gases felt like the origin of all things. However, this world was indeed like a deathly still world. Chaotic world. Sakura scanned the surroundings and in the first instant, he realized what kind of world he was looking at. This was the chaotic world that he had seen with his own eyes before. In this chaotic world, it was silent as if there were no living creatures. However, the chaotic world was the origin of all things. It was the origin of heaven and earth. It also gave birth to all kinds of treasures. There were many innate spiritual treasures, various innate spiritual roots, and even terrifying chaotic divine demons in the chaotic world. In front of De Chertion's eyes, he saw with his own eyes that in an area filled with extremely dense primal chaos chi, there was a pile of soil that emitted a mysterious aura. This soil formed a small island, and on it there was a pool of water. That pool of water faintly emitted the aura of the water origin, and it contained endless vitality. Shockingly, there was a mysterious Tao lotus growing within the pool. This lotus was quite strange. It was a twin lotus flower. The flowers bloomed together and there were two of them. One of them was a blood-red lotus. The red lotus continuously devoured the surrounding chaotic gas. As the chaotic gas entered the red lotus, it was continuously refined into pure forbidden energy. On the surface of the red lotus there were countless seals. The other one was a green lotus. The green lotus was also continuously absorbing the chaotic chi. However, the aura emitted from the green lotus was different from that of the red lotus. It was filled with traces of rich creation chi. It was as if the green lotus contained an incredible and monstrous creation chi. The green lotus and red lotus lived together peacefully, exuding a cheerful aura every now and then. If nothing out of the ordinary happened, they would grow up together. They might even transform and become a chaotic divine demon with unimaginable power. However, this peaceful life was forcefully broken. A beam of axe light appeared out of nowhere and suddenly streaked across the chaos. In an instant, it appeared above the Bingdi lotus flower. With a crack, the axe light directly split the Bingdi lotus flower into two. In the end, the red lotus and green lotus separated from the roots and turned into the forbidden red lotus and the green lotus of creation in the chaos. They pierced through the air in different directions. In the blink of an eye, they were separated by force. Forbidden red lotus and creation green lotus. I see. Deshirtian saw with his own eyes that the creation green lotus seemed to have been hit by the axe radiance because it was protecting the red lotus. It was severely injured and flew in different directions. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared without a trace. My goodness, if they hadn't been split apart by the axe light, I'm afraid they would have become unfathomable existences in the end. That axe radiance looked like the one that split the purple gold land. They were caught in the crossfire. Ming shook his head and sighed softly. The roots of the forbidden red lotus and creation green lotus were extremely deep and they had the potential to become sovereigns. Each of their bodies contained a complete great Tao. Once fully matured, they would be able to become sovereigns. However, they were destroyed and could only evolve into connate spiritual treasures. It was a tragedy. I didn't expect there to be another creation green lotus. Deshirtian's eyes lit up. Whoosh. As he pondered, his mind was in a trance. In the blink of an eye, he returned from the chaos. You and your sister are actually the twin lotus. No wonder you have such a close, sisterly relationship. Deshirtian took a deep breath and looked at the red lotus in front of him. Of course. My sister and I have been together since we were born. The red lotus heard and her face was filled with longing. Not knowing how much time had passed, Sakra directly broke through the sky from the forbidden land and appeared on top of a snowy peak. There was a blood-red lotus seed in his hand. After taking a look at it silently, he put it away and disappeared in the blink of an eye. And in the forbidden land, the little girl standing on the lotus platform no longer had the slightest bit of innocence and coldness on her face. She reached out a finger and touched her nose, muttering to herself, "For the sake of the demon court, the demon emperor will do anything to help me find my sister's whereabouts. With his luck, he might really be able to find my sister." As she spoke, she looked up into the void and murmured worriedly, "Sister, nothing must happen to you. Otherwise, I won't have any relatives in the future." On the purple gold land, the situation was changing rapidly. Countless news kept spreading. Most of it was about the battle of the 3 lists and 1 scroll in the heaven-toppling ancient painting. In an ancient cultivation city, countless cultivators shuttled back and forth in the city, looking for all kinds of opportunities. Meanwhile, in a restaurant in the city, Deshirtian, who was dressed in a black robe, sat quietly in a seat by the window. He ordered a table of fine wine and delicacies. As he ate and drank, he listened to the various conversations in the restaurant. "I don't know if you've heard about the plague that happened in the human territory. I heard that this plague is extremely terrifying. Even if we cultivators go in, we can't escape the fate of being killed by the plague. Moreover, the speed of its spread is extremely terrifying. It has covered tens of millions of miles of territory, covering tens of billions of people, cultivators, and living beings. All of them died. The scene is extremely terrifying. It's extremely tragic. This matter has already caused panic. Who doesn't know about it? However, I also heard that the 10 great immortal sects have already taken action. It is said that they have used several supreme divine artifacts, the Thunder Temple's 8 treasures merit pool, the Starry Hall's heavenly cycle star map. I heard that even the Eternal Kingdom is showing signs of going to suppress it. The unparalleled experts of the human race are also secretly mobilizing. As for the plague, almost everyone was in danger now. This plague was so powerful that it was almost too terrifying. Even cultivators couldn't resist it and died under the plague. Everyone was afraid that once the plague spread completely, it would bring immeasurable losses to the human race. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1090. If you have a monthly ticket, please help. In the past, the plague only targeted mortals and even ordinary birds and beasts. It did not harm cultivators at all, so no one paid too much attention to it. There were cultivators who died from poison or serious injuries, but the number of people who died from disease could be counted on one's fingers. It was extremely rare. But now, such a domineering and terrifying plague had appeared, so the cultivators in the various heavens could not help but feel a strong sense of fear. Sakra heard all these and nodded to himself. He muttered to himself, "The reaction of the human clan is not slow. They actually sent out several supreme divine artifacts. However, looking at the situation, there must be some peerless experts following them in the dark. The leaders of the human clan are not stupid. However, the god of plagues has occupied tens of millions of miles of area. If all the living creatures and practitioners were swallowed by the plague and turned into plague bugs, I'm afraid that the god of plagues' strength has recovered to a terrifying extent. If the human clan acts now, I'm afraid that they won't be able to restrain him. The god of plagues was so terrifying that even the incantators had to pay the price of their own lives to temporarily suppress him. This was already the tip of the iceberg. It was absolutely terrifying. Even if he was not a half-step demon ancestor, he was still a supreme expert among the demon emperors. The human race may not be able to get any benefits this time. Let's just watch the fire burn across the river and watch a good show," Ming said with a wicked smile. His eyes gleamed as he looked at the nether prison. His body was standing on the wheel of samsara. Starting from his head, the thick blood-red color had spread to his chest. His arms were also being eroded by the blood-red color. Shirtian smiled faintly. He picked up the wine cup and slowly poured the fine wine into his mouth. He continued to listen to the various conversations in the restaurant. The restaurant was a place where good and bad people mixed together. It was the place where news circulated the fastest. Often, they would hear about the various changes that had happened recently. At this moment, another table began to talk. This table was not far from Shirtian's seat. There were 3 men and 1 woman sitting at it. After ordering a table full of dishes and wine, they began to talk after 30 minutes. "Boss, have you heard? Right now, the news of the 3 rankings and 1 chart battle has spread like wildfire. It is said that extremely strange and unforeseen events have occurred in both the human realm and the earth realm in the heaven-toppling ancient painting." A thin cultivator rolled his eyes and changed the topic. They were talking about the competition for the 3 rankings and 1 chart. The slightly chubby leader also nodded with a heavy face and said, "Yes, I heard that in the human realm and the earth realm, many heavens prides of various clans have been inexplicably plotted against. Some have disappeared without a sign. Some heaven's prides with potential have been assassinated one after another. Many core disciples of human clans sects have also been assassinated. It was said that some of the assassins were cultivators from various sections. Now, thousands of sky prides have been assassinated. Kiki, the only beautiful female cultivator at the table, chuckled and said, "The allure of the 3 lists and 1 chart is indeed unimaginable. For the sake of the list, even the closest of brothers would be willing to assassinate you." According to the news, no one in the heaven-toppling ancient painting dared to easily trust anyone. Moreover, the competition inside has become extremely fierce. It is said that in 3 years, the 3 rankings will officially appear on the list. In 30 years, the competition for the 3 rankings and 1 chart will completely end. I heard that in the Earth realm, several extremely dazzling heavens prides have appeared. One of them is called Zhong Yunfei. It is said that he was originally not very famous and was only a disciple of a sect. Unexpectedly, he inexplicably advanced by leaps and bounds. After entering the heaven-toppling ancient painting, he passed the heavenly tribulation and was promoted to the Earth realm. Zhong Yunfei is nothing. The Yuan Qi in the heaven-toppling ancient painting is Xiantian Yuan Qi, and it is extremely dense. Many heavens prides who entered found a secret place to begin closed-door training after entering. For example, the heavens prides of various clans from the 10 great immortal sects are probably planning to enter the heaven realm. The discussion at that table, without missing a single bit, entered Sakra's ears. Thoughts quickly ran through his mind as he analyzed the information contained in it. He muttered to himself, "So many heavens prides in the heaven-toppling ancient painting were assassinated. Moreover, these assassinations appeared at the same time. I'm afraid there is something fishy going on here." He keenly felt that there seemed to be some unknown secret hidden in this assassination. Otherwise, even if there were assassinations, it would not have started at the same time. He instinctively felt that there was something fishy going on here. However, the information revealed by just listening to the conversation was still too little. He was unable to clearly figure out the changes in the heaven-toppling ancient painting. Once the purple firmament auction ends, the demon horde arena battle, and the recruitment fair are over, the elites of my demon clan should also enter the sky-toppling ancient map to have a good experience. Assassination, I would like to see what kind of secret is hidden behind this. Sakra took a deep breath, and a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. At this time, another person began to talk. Speaking of the 3 lists and 1 chart, the real competition now is still the list of beauties. I heard that when the heaven-toppling ancient painting appeared and the land of beauties was known, all the prides of the various clans entered the land of beauties. This list of beauties is not about whose combat power is stronger, but who is more beautiful and whose temperament is more unique. Since the beginning, many prides have entered the list. Now, the 100 places on the list have been fully occupied. Moreover, the rankings are fluctuating almost all the time. Those who enter the list also have a picture of a court lady. Those who can enter the list can be said to be devastatingly beautiful. Moreover, their temperament is extremely unique. Even the heavens have to take care of them. Now, the top 10 each have a great background. It is said that until now, no one has been able to shake them. The thing that attracted the most attention of many cultivators was naturally the beauty. The list of beauties was the greatest competition in the world. Moreover, it was the most fair selection. It would only compare based on appearance, temperament, and even charm. No one could change their ranking. The chosen prides were the most resplendent pearls in the world. When talking about this matter, the cultivators in the restaurant were also extremely excited. This was especially so when speaking to the top 10 heavenly daughters. Their words were filled with admiration. However, each of them could be said to be a peerless heavenly lady. Di Shirtian listened carefully and also obtained the basic information of the top 10 heavenly ladies on the list of beauties. The one who was ranked first was called Chang Xiao. She lived in the Guanghan Palace, and her appearance was devastatingly beautiful. She was a peerless heavenly lady who had existed since ancient times. Her cultivation had reached the level of a peerless powerhouse. Moreover, her temperament was cold and otherworldly. Her Guanghan heavenly dance was stunning. In ancient times, she was recognized as the #1 beauty in the world. Moreover, she had been single from the beginning to the end. She had never had an ambiguous relationship with any male cultivator. She was incomparably holy. That kind of holy, noble, and otherworldly temperament made the group of beauties confer her the title, Heavenly Lady of Guanghan. The second one was called Wu Xin. He cultivated a heartless demonic technique that he accidentally obtained. The cultivator was heartless, and his methods were cruel and cold. In ancient times, this heartless demonic saber had drunk the blood of countless living beings. She had already stepped into the realm of a peerless powerhouse. Not only was she devastatingly beautiful, but her temperament was also extremely cold and elegant. However, it made people fall in love with her and not dare to make any move. The group of beauties conferred her the title, Heartless Demoness. The third one was called Feng Tianwu. She was the princess of the Phoenix clan. Since she was born, there had been a strange phenomenon in the sky, and countless colorful phoenixes flew and danced. Her temperament was noble, and she had the aura of an emperor among birds. Her body naturally exuded a natural noble aura, attracting the pursuit of countless cultivators. The group of beauties conferred her the title, Celestial Phoenix Maiden. And the fourth one was Su Tianxiang. She was a 9-tailed heavenly fox, and she was born to be the supreme of the fox clan. Moreover, she was born with an irresistible charm. The charm that she inadvertently exuded was enough to cause the downfall of countries and cities. The most unique thing was that she did not have the foxy charm of the fox clan. Instead, she had a kind of holy charm that was combined with the charm of the fox clan, resulting in a charm that was produced. It could be said to be unique. The group of beauties conferred her the title, Heavenly Fox Saintess. The fifth was Qin Xian. Because Qin Xian cultivated the Tao of music and cultivated her body and mind, she naturally carried an aura of elegance and transcendence that made others feel extremely comfortable. It was as if one could only look at her from afar and not approach her, causing others to unconsciously feel a sense of closeness towards her. She was also the princess of the Heavenly Sound clan. She could charm all living beings with a single song, and she was conferred the title, Heavenly Lady of Beauty. The sixth one was a member of the human clan. Her name was Xuanji. She was the saintess of the Heavenly Secrets sect. Her aura was mysterious and unique, as if she could see through any mind and see through the secrets of heaven. Her figure and appearance were all created by heaven, and they were perfect without a single flaw. Without a doubt, she entered the group of beauties and was conferred the title, Heavenly Lady of Xuanji. The seventh one was Mengyao of the Benevolent Boathouse. She had the temperament of Taoism and Buddhism, and she was incomparably holy. Even a single glance at her would make people not dare to have any blasphemous thoughts. Moreover, she had done countless good deeds in the human clan, and many mortals worshipped her as a god. She was conferred the title, Benevolent Space Lady of Beauty. The seventh one was the saintess of the Myriad Demons Palace, Ding Dang. She had a strange temperament, and it was difficult to understand her. She was like a little fairy that walked the world, and no one could understand her. She seemed to be very affectionate, but no one could take advantage of her. She attracted the admiration of countless cultivators. However, she was extremely ruthless. In the group of beauties, she was conferred the title, Myriad Transformation Demoness. The eighth one was a mysterious woman named Ji Hanyan. Her specific background was extremely mysterious, and no cultivator knew about it until now. However, she was conferred the title, Fairy Han Yen. The ninth one was also an extremely mysterious woman named Wan Rushuang. Her specific background was also unknown, but she was conferred the title, Heavenly Lady of Frost. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1091. In 10th place was Bai Lingyu. She was also a person who had never appeared before and had never had any reputation. However, when the 3 lists and 1 chart opened this time, a peerless beauty suddenly appeared. Her origin was also a mystery. However, this was not important. What was important was that she was also conferred a title by the beauty chart. She was conferred the title, Heavenly Lady of Azure Waves. As for the others, there were still 90 beauties on the beauty list. Moreover, all of them were peerless beauties. Every one of them could be said to be a character who was sought after by countless cultivators. However, they were not conferred the title of Heavenly Jade Waves Maiden. Obviously, there was still a certain gap between them and the top 10 for the time being. TSK, Madman D, you really got a big advantage this time. Your 2 wives are both heavenly beauties on the beauty list. Moreover, looking at the situation, they are ranked at the top. If nothing unexpected happens, even if there is a change, the top 10 positions should not be shaken. This is 3 chances to be annihilated and reborn. Ming was also secretly excited. Qin Xin and White Fox were able to enter this beauty score. Furthermore, their ranking was so high and they were both his master's concubines. This Sakura, who had so many heavenly ladies around him, was definitely the object of admiration of all living beings in the world. He had so much face, so much face. Needless to say, the excitement in his heart was needless to say. It's still too early to make a conclusion. The source world is so vast. Among the hundreds of races in the heavens, no one is easy to deal with. There are countless forces hidden in the dark. Now, the 3 lists and 1 chart has just opened. Some of the true peerless beauties are probably still hiding and have not shown themselves. Sakura didn't lose his judgment because of these news. He muttered to himself as he saw the changes in front of him very clearly. There were absolutely countless beautiful girls in the myriad of worlds. Now, he didn't know how many of them had yet to enter the competition. He was afraid that the competition would be the most intense at the end. It would be premature to say anything at this point in time. However, it could be seen that the competition for the 3 lists and 1 chart would probably become more and more intense as time passed. Di Shurtian did not change his expression and quietly tasted the wine and delicacies. In a short time, he had already understood some of the recent situation and secretly made some plans in his heart. After sitting for a while longer and seeing that there wasn't much information, he decided to leave. However, right at this moment, in a private room of the restaurant, a voice rang out. Suddenly, a conversation entered his ears. In fact, Di Shurtian had been paying attention to that box. With his clairvoyance ability, he instantly saw through the situation inside the box. It was a young couple. The couple didn't seem to have any special features, and their performance was extremely ordinary. However, Di Shurtian could see through them at a glance. They were 2 ancient giants. 2 ancient giants were actually able to disguise themselves as ordinary cultivators, keeping such a low profile. Clearly, there was more to this than met the eye. However, after the couple entered the private room, they only ordered a table of dishes and ate silently. They didn't have much conversation. He originally thought that he wouldn't be able to get much information from them, but he didn't expect that when he was about to leave, the conversation between the couple made Sakura sit down again. "Husband, are we really going to the fringe?" Inside were the tombs of ancient overlords. Countless ancient overlords had been buried inside. Moreover, that news might not be accurate. The woman said with a slightly worried expression. Before speaking, she had already set up a soundproof restriction in the private room. "Sister Fu, This news was personally sent by my elder brother through a sound transmission talisman. It can't be false. That supreme treasure must have appeared. According to my elder brother, there are already strange occurrences in the fringe. If we have the opportunity to obtain even a little bit of benefits, we might be able to break through our current realm and enter the realm of peerless experts and become almighty experts. We can't miss this opportunity no matter what. The man's eyes flashed with resplendent light, and his voice carried a resolute expression. Clearly, he was extremely resolute in his decision. But that supreme treasure, since ancient times, countless experts have fallen, but no one has been able to obtain it. I'm a little worried. The woman's face revealed a hesitant expression. One could clearly see the trace of worry. There's no need to worry. My elder brother is a peerless expert. With his protection, even if there's a real threat, there won't be any problems in preserving our lives, the man said with great confidence. Looking at the dishes in front of him, he said, "All right, to avoid any more trouble, we'll leave now. We'll talk about other matters after meeting up with my elder brother." The woman nodded and did not stop him. The two did not stay for too long, as if they were just resting. After eating a simple meal, they left quickly without any hesitation. However, their conversation made de Chertion slightly shocked in his heart. His face revealed a contemplative expression. Various thoughts quickly spun in his mind. The fringe, there's a change in the fringe. What's going on? The fringe was filled with all kinds of disasters. Some of these disasters were so dangerous that even ancient overlords would be in danger of dying if they set foot in them. However, something that could attract ancient overlords would definitely not be ordinary. It definitely wouldn't be an ordinary supreme treasure. Moreover, according to what was said just now, even peerless experts were starting to get involved. Could it be that thing? Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind. His eyes flashed with a flash of light. After pondering for a while, de Chertion suddenly revealed a look of interest. He looked out of the window and muttered to himself, "Interesting. I originally planned to go back to the southern barbarian land, but it seems that something interesting has happened in the fringe. Well, I'll go again this time and see how the divine crow Taoist monarch is doing." De Chertion smiled faintly, then stood up and disappeared silently from the restaurant. Only 10 exquisite soaring cloud coins were quietly placed on the table. While the demon court was flourishing, the soaring cloud coins had long been accepted by countless cultivators. The fringe was extremely strange. It did not belong to the origin world, and it was constantly traveling through the endless void. There were no coordinates, so it was extremely difficult to find its whereabouts. Its traces were constantly changing. Looking at the fringe from above, one could see wisps of gray disaster aura spreading in the void. Below, there was a terrifying power of disaster everywhere. Almost every inch of space was filled with disaster. Terrifying storms swept over from time to time, and poison spread in the air. Whoosh! At this moment, in the sky above a remote area, a young man in a black emperor's robe appeared in the void without any warning. His black hair danced wildly behind his head. Rumble! Bolts of lightning burst out silently from the top of his head. They carried the aura of disaster as they bombarded the ground. However, they collided with the black hair. Immediately, the bolts of lightning were shattered by the hair. All kinds of disasters could not get close to him at all. The fringe is indeed the fringe. De Chertion stood in the void as if he was stepping on a ladder. He glanced around and felt the aura of disaster in the air. He sighed slightly in his heart. However, his expression changed slightly as he exclaimed in surprise. Suddenly, he completely retracted his aura. At the same time, an invisibility technique fell on his body. Immediately, his entire body disappeared into the void at a speed visible to the naked eye. It was as if he had never appeared. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Just a few breaths after his body disappeared into the void, he saw that outside the fringe, several divine lights broke through the void at an astonishing speed, quickly approaching the center of the fringe. 3 pinnacle cultivators of the ancient era. Tion watched the divine lights from the void. With his eyesight, he naturally saw the scene in the divine lights very clearly. His eyes narrowed slightly, however, before he could appear. In the distance, several more divine lights broke through the void and entered the fringe. Every one of them that appeared in the divine light had a unique will and invisible pressure. It was another few pinnacle cultivators of the ancient era. At the same time, in the void, there were several strange distortions. It was extremely strange. As if they were going to the market, divine lights kept entering the fringe from the outside. Interesting. It seems that the fringe is really going to be lively. 15 pinnacle cultivators of the ancient era and 3 peerless experts. Could it be that the tomb of the god of sin is about to appear? Sakra looked at the ancient giants that came one after another, and an interested look appeared on his face. He muttered to himself, "Crazy Emperor, the divine tomb is going to appear. I'm afraid it's very likely. It's a well-known fact that there is a divine tomb in the fringe. However, no one has been able to gain the recognition of the divine tomb. No matter how hard they try, they can't find it. Perhaps this is the time for it to appear. This may be a great opportunity," Nether said excitedly. The light shooting out of his eyes could even pierce through Nether prison. "No hurry. I'm afraid that even if the divine tomb is going to appear, it may not be now." Tion was not in a hurry to catch up with those cultivators. Instead, he pondered for a moment and made up his mind. Although he was now vaguely sure that the changes in the fringe were related to the legendary divine tomb, for some reason, he still felt that something was not right. On the contrary, he did not want to get involved too early. "Let's go and see Lord Divine Crow first." With a wave of his long sleeve, his body instantly distorted, and he stepped forward step by step as if he was walking on a stairway to heaven. Since the establishment of the demon court, Tion had been thinking of ways to reunite some of the ancient experts of the demon clan. In ancient times, Tao Lord Divine Crow was an ancient demon god of the demon clan. Moreover, his combat strength was extremely strong. There were few opponents in the world. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1092. Oh my god, the internet is as slow as a tortoise. It took me an hour to upload it. I'm so frustrated that I'm about to vomit blood. In the land of chaos, in front of the domain of fire. Sakra's figure appeared in the void out of thin air. Looking ahead, circles of blazing flames seemed to be continuously erupting with an overbearing destructive power. Every wisp of flame contained a terrifying power that could incinerate all living things. Rings after rings, from the outside to the inside, the power of the flames was also increasing. Outside, one could vaguely see a huge mountain of flames standing proudly in the middle of the domain of fire. "All flames in the world, heed my command and retreat at once." Sakra merely raised his eyes and glanced at the monstrous flames that soared into the sky. He lightly shouted. His words were naturally filled with an unimaginable majesty and power, as if it was a command issued by the heaven and earth. It possessed great will and power. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the flames in front of him seemed to have a life of their own. They rolled violently and quickly retreated to the sides, as if they had heard the command from the Emperor of Flames. In the blink of an eye, a slender passage was formed, as if a water-repelling pearl had fallen into the sea. A passage that led straight to the mountain of flames appeared in front of him. Tiske, lunatic D, with your divine power of absolute command, no curse in the world can compare to you. Dark clicked his tongue and said as he watched Tion easily command the flames. I haven't reached that level yet, But I'm planning to borrow the power of connate chaos to evolve the power of grand primordium, and grand primordium after entering the chaos. I'll completely condense everything I've gained into a supreme ability that can intimidate all worlds and all eternity. From simplicity to complexity, and from complexity to simplicity. These are the truths of heaven and earth. Indra stepped into the fiery domain. There weren't any flames on the ground. Every step he took seemed extremely steady. Every step he took left a clear footprint on the ground. After which, the path behind him was once again enveloped by the flames. In the blink of an eye, he appeared at the foot of the mountain of flames. The entire mountain was ablaze. Especially at the very top, there seemed to be a gigantic sun, blooming with dazzling divine light. Croak! It was at this moment that a series of strange, hoarse, and unpleasant cries came from the flame mountain. Those cries contained a trace of madness that wanted to destroy all living things. Then, hundreds of thousands of small black suns rose from the top of the mountain of flames. The aura emanating from each of the black suns seemed to have the will to burn the ancient giants into ashes. There was also a kind of crazy hostility. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After those black suns appeared, they did not hesitate at all. They fell from the sky like meteors, smashing towards Di-Shirtion. Each of the black suns contained a terrifying power that could burn the sky and boil the sea. Black Fire Crow? When Di-Shirtion saw the black suns, his pupils involuntarily narrowed. He shouted coldly, "Not good, these fire crows have been completely demonized." Those fire crows exuded thick demonic chi, which carried a terrifying evil aura. This was clearly a sign of demonization. His heart skipped a beat. It seems that something has happened to the ancient tomb on the flame mountain. Not good, thou Lord Divine Crow? Thoughts flashed through his mind quickly, and a strong sense of majesty appeared on his face. What a great demon god continent! To think that they would dare to target the demon god of my demon race. This emperor would like to see who has the guts to do so, Sakra spat out coldly. Who was thou Lord Divine Crow? That was the almighty of the demon race that had survived from the ancient times. It was a lineage of the demon race. Now, Sakra represented the demon race and gathered boundless power. He could be said to be the most honorable person in the soaring heaven demon court. As a demon god emperor, when he thought that thou Lord Divine Crow might be being persecuted by the demon god, the anger in his heart burst out like oil that had been set on fire. The anger in his heart burned. The light emitted from the two eyes immediately became abnormally sharp and captivating. In the face of hundreds of thousands of black fire crows, his entire emperor body rose into the air. Not only did he not retreat, but he carried a monstrous aura with him as he stepped forward step by step. As he stepped on the void, ripples appeared under his feet, as if there was an invisible staircase supporting his body. The black hair behind his head moved without wind and danced wildly. The monstrous emperor aura soared into the sky like a tide. Divine flames of the heavens, heed my command! Sakra took one step at a time and spat out a sentence with supreme majesty. Rumble! As soon as his voice fell, the countless flames in the entire fire domain suddenly seemed to have received the edict of a king. They began to roll violently, and there was a loud roar as if thousands of loyal soldiers were assembling an army. Those who oppose me will be judged by thousands of divine flames and cut by the flames. Clang! 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 As soon as he finished speaking, a mysterious power filled the air and filled every wisp of flame. Amidst the crisp sounds of weapons clashing, the countless flames that filled the fire domain, Samadhi true fire, 6 true fire, 9 true fire, pure yang true fire, earth evil fire, heaven fire, pure een true fire, and so on, all kinds of flames instantly condensed into a crescent-shaped blade that looked like a real crescent moon. As soon as these blades appeared, they immediately slashed at the hundreds of thousands of demonic crows in a frenzy like a tide. Every blade contained a domineering power that was comparable to an unparalleled attack power. Caw, 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 caw. The flaming blades with boundless aura slashed at the black suns. Suddenly, the black suns let out shrill cries and fell from the sky, black demonic blood splattering in the air. Although the fire crows had the power to fight against the ancient giants, they were instantly crushed by the flaming blades. Bang! 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 Step by step, he walked up the sky stairway. He faced the flaming mountain directly. Without hesitation, he stepped up to the top of the mountain. Ancient tomb. Sakra's momentum was unstoppable. He appeared at the peak of the mountain and once again saw the incomparably gigantic golden tomb. His countenance turned solemn as he stared at the gigantic tombstone erected in front of the tomb. The tombstone was at least 30,000 feet tall and was completely golden in color, exuding a noble aura. Countless domineering flames enveloped the entire ancient tomb like a tide. It was like a huge golden fireball. Unfortunately, behind the tombstone there was a golden tomb door. However, the tomb door was actually open. The entrance of the tomb was exposed, and it looked abnormally deep. It was like the bloody mouth of a primordial beast. For some reason, Di Shirtion felt that the ancient tomb in front of him contained an unusual aura. Crazy D, something might have happened to the divine crow Tao Lord in this ancient tomb. Otherwise, he wouldn't have locked himself in the ancient tomb and not come out. Ming rolled his eyes and immediately reminded. Humph! I'd like to see who is harming the divine crow Tao Lord this time. If possible, with my current ability, I might be able to cut off those 9 divine chains. Di Shirtion stepped directly into the ancient tomb. However, as soon as he stepped into the ancient tomb, he felt a cold and gloomy aura suddenly attacking him. There really is a change. This aura was completely different from the first time he entered. There was not even the blazing heat of the flames. Instead, there was a strange chill. There was obviously an incredible change in this. The ancient tomb was filled with a golden sea of fire. Every inch of the sea of fire was filled with the domineering true sun fire. His footsteps did not panic because of this, and he still walked forward steadily. In the blink of an eye, a huge, crimson Fusang divine tree appeared in front of him. On top of the Fusang divine tree, 10 small golden suns hung high above, and the mysterious Wu's nest that was entrenched on the divine tree. Di Shirtion leaped into the air and appeared on the Wu's nest. He looked into the Wu's nest and saw Tao Lord Divine Crow in a Taoist robe sitting cross-legged inside. On his body, 9 terrifying divine chains tightly bound his entire body to the Wu's nest. Above his head, the myriad crow pot was spinning continuously, swallowing the true sun fire around it. Tao Lord, do you still remember me? Di Shirtion looked at Tao Lord Divine Crow, who was sitting cross-legged in the Wu's nest. Seeing that he was not surprised, he sighed in relief. Whoosh! When Tao Lord Divine Crow heard this, his originally closed eyes immediately opened. 2 golden eyes appeared, and there seemed to be a hint of fatigue in those eyes. Shifter Emperor, you're here? When Tao Lord Divine Crow saw Di Shirtion, a faint smile appeared on his face. There seemed to be a hint of closeness in his expression. Tao Lord, I just saw that all the fire crows on the Mountain of Flames were demonized and turned into demonic crows. The demonic crows even have evil auras in them. If I'm not wrong, only the Fiend Celestial Continent has the ability to demonize like this. Could it be that the Fiend Celestial Continent's fiends are trying to harm you? Di Shirtion scanned his surroundings but did not notice any other changes. He also did not sense any fiend chi in the ancient tomb. As he asked this question, he thought to himself, that shouldn't be the case. Logically speaking, the sudden demonization of the fire crows on the Mountain of Flames must have something to do with the Fiend Celestial Continent. If that's the case, it's impossible that they didn't leave behind any clues. Could there be something fishy going on here? Shifter Emperor, you've come at the right time. Before you came, there was indeed a group of fiends hiding in the origin world who came to assassinate me. Tao Lord Divine Crow looked at Di Shirtian with a calm expression on his face, as if he did not care about the previous assassination attempt. He said disdainfully, however, even if I'm bound in this ancient tomb, I'm still not someone who can be bullied by just anyone. All the fiend celestials were burned to ashes by my 1,000-crow pot. His words showed that he did not care about this matter at all. Shifter Emperor, did you come this time to help me sever these 9 myriad tribulation god chains? A strange light flashed in the depths of Tao Lord Divine Crow's eyes. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien. Come to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. Chapter 1093. Those with tickets please raise. Helping Tao Lord Divine Crow sever the 9 divine chains and free himself was naturally one of the reasons why Di Shirtian came. However, when he saw it with his own eyes again, a faint fog appeared in his mind. The words that were about to come out of his mouth suddenly changed. Didn't the Tao Lord say that the 9 myriad tribulation god chains were personally set by the Tao Lord? Furthermore, they are bound here. Could it be that the Tao Lord is planning to come out again? There seemed to be a deeper meaning in his words. The Demon Emperor established the demon court and led the demons to rise again. Now, I think that although the demon court is developing rapidly, it still lacks top-notch combat strength. It can't be a deterrent to other spies. Compared to the prosperity of the demon race, my small matter is nothing. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, I won't hesitate. Tao Lord Divine Crow said with a solemn and impassioned expression. Tao Monarch has the heart of the demon race. This emperor deeply admires you. However, there is something that I have always been very puzzled about. I wonder if Tao Monarch can clear up my doubts. Sakura smiled indifferently and suddenly asked, "Please speak." When Tao Lord Divine Crow heard this, a glint flashed across his eyes. I wonder when exactly did the Tao Monarch seal himself in the ancient times and bind himself in this ancient tomb? Sakura didn't hesitate and asked in a seemingly casual manner. So that's what it is. Tao Lord Divine Crow smiled casually. Back in the ancient times, I was cultivating a heaven-defying divine ability. An accident happened during my cultivation and I went berserk. The true power in my body flowed recklessly and I had no choice but to seal myself with these 9 divine chains. I also used the origin divine power of fire of the Fusang divine tree to help me. It was only recently that I gradually recovered. His words were logical, and there were no flaws in them at all. I see. Di Shirtian revealed a look of realization. He looked at the 9 mysterious divine chains and saw countless mysterious runes flashing on them. In each rune, countless tribulations were constantly changing and even disappearing. There seemed to be countless tribulations connected, one after another in an endless cycle. The aura of calamity appeared in the divine chains. Such divine chains were not damaged at all under the burning of the true fire of the sun. Their toughness had reached an immeasurable level. However, each of these 9 divine chains is connected to the Fusang divine tree. They are extremely tough. I'm afraid that even peerless experts would find it difficult to cut them. I'm afraid that I won't be able to do it. Di Shirtian seemed to be in a difficult position. He could indeed feel an incredible power in the divine chains. It contained the will of calamity. If he really attacked, it would immediately spit endless calamity. No, you can cut it. Tao Lord Divine Crow looked at Di Shirtian with a smile and said, back in the ancient times, you had already proven your Tao with strength. Now, you've proven your Tao a second time and condensed an immortal primordial spirit that merged with your physical body. The power that you can unleash is even more shocking than a peerless expert at his peak. In addition to your tiger soul, with the sharpness of tiger soul and your peerless divine power, there is a 90% chance that you can cut the divine chains. There was a strong sense of confidence in his voice. This kind of confidence seemed to be very contagious. Okay. Then I'll give it a try. Tion heard this and a faint smile appeared on his face. He nodded and agreed. Clang. Unknowingly, his right hand had already appeared on the long saber hilt of Tiger Soul. With a twist of his wrist, a crisp and pleasant sound of the saber being unsheathed echoed in the ancient tomb. A golden saber light pierced through the air, drawing a resplendent arc of light in the air. Crack! Countless Emperor talismans in Tian's flesh and blood spewed out waves of pure divine power and crazily poured into Tiger Soul, causing the divine radiance on Tiger Soul to become even more condensed. With a twist of his wrist, a golden arc of light instantly drew in the air. Tiger Soul slashed towards Tao Lord Divine Crow at an unbelievable speed. Seeing Sakura take out the Tiger Soul saber, the corners of Tao Lord Divine Crow's mouth could not help but curl into a meaningful smile. However, when this smile appeared, his eyes couldn't help but reveal a trace of surprise. The blade of Tiger Soul tore through the air and slashed towards Tao Lord Divine Crow's neck instead of the 9 divine chains. This slash was as fast as lightning, cleaving cleanly and cleanly. Wherever it passed, a saber mark cut through the void. A faint tiger's roar could be heard coming from the saber's body. Clang! Surprise, he simply didn't expect that Sakura, who had originally agreed, not only did he not help to sever the divine chains, he instead made a move against him. This point was indeed extremely unexpected. Originally, they had already agreed, but the sudden change in direction, even he couldn't help but be surprised. However, his reaction was not slow at all. When he saw Tiger Soul, his head swayed slightly. Instantly, the pitch-black hair behind his head fluttered without wind and suddenly appeared in front of Tiger Soul. It collided with Tiger Soul, producing an incomparably crisp sound. The strand of hair contained boundless gentleness, forcibly breaking apart the saber energy contained in the Tiger's soul. Crack! A few strands of broken hair drifted to the ground. Tian retracted his saber and stood upright, the blade pointing diagonally to the ground as he looked coldly at Tao Lord Divine Crow. When did you see through it? Tao Lord Divine Crow stood up quietly with a complicated gaze as he said slowly. His aura suddenly changed. The originally indifferent aura was instantly replaced by a pure fiend chi. The Taoist robe on his body also turned pitch black instantly. Mysterious fiend patterns appeared on his face. When you asked me to cut the divine chains, Tian scanned the fiend god in front of him coldly and said in a deep voice, "Who are you to be able to occupy Tao Lord Divine Crow's body? You're definitely not a nobody in the fiend god continent." Something was wrong. From the first time he saw Tao Lord Divine Crow with his own eyes, he vaguely sensed that something was wrong. This feeling did not disappear because of their conversation. Instead, it became stronger. In particular, although Tao Lord Divine Crow was indifferent in the beginning, he deliberately mentioned cutting the divine chains in a few words. He then thought of the demonic crows he had encountered before and the reason why Tao Lord Divine Crow sealed him here in the ancient times and even used 9 divine chains to lock him up. All kinds of information were connected one by one and a terrifying guess instantly appeared in his mind. Tao Lord Divine Crow had probably encountered an immeasurable change, or even had his body temporarily taken over by a terrifying fiend god. Tian had always attached great importance to his own feelings. All sorts of suspicions in his heart made him slash at Tao Lord Divine Crow's vital parts without hesitation. This test indeed revealed something. What a demon emperor! No wonder you can still lead the demon race to such unbelievable achievements in such adversity and even establish the demon court. You're indeed extraordinary. I've underestimated you. I'm the heartless demon emperor. Tao Lord Divine Crow scanned Tian with a strange gaze. He did not expect that he would not be able to deceive him just now. However, he also understood. After all, anyone who could rise up from nothing and achieve what they had today was definitely not a mediocre person. "You're the heartless demon emperor?" De Chertien's pupils constricted violently, and he frowned slightly. "Weren't you killed by myriad calamity ancestor in the ancient times? How did you end up in Tao Lord Divine Crow's body?" Heartless demon emperor. In De Chertien's ears it was like thunder. He had heard of it long ago. In the land of chaos, when he entered the myriad calamity cave abode with the other geniuses, he had heard of his name. He had a very deep impression of him. He was the messenger that forced myriad calamity ancestor to hide in the cave abode for tens of thousands of years. It was rumored that the heartless demon emperor's original body was a hollow willow. Moreover, he cultivated a terrifying sky demon swallowing technique. His combat strength was extremely terrifying. In the ancient times, he had fought with myriad calamity ancestor. Both of them were peerless fierce gods. When they fought, it was extremely tragic. In the end, myriad calamity ancestor was one step ahead and killed the heartless demon emperor. He even refined the heartless demon emperor's original body into a supreme treasure called the myriad calamity demon subduing pagoda. He had heard of this personally in the myriad calamity cave abode. However, both myriad calamity ancestor and him ended up in a lose-lose situation and had to fall into a deep sleep. None of them had gained much of an advantage. However, he didn't expect that myriad calamity ancestor didn't die, and this heartless demon emperor didn't die either. He even occupied the body of Tao Lord Divine Crow. "Humph, that old thing myriad calamity. Do you think you can kill me with just him alone? His cultivation was only on par with mine in the ancient times. Although he cut through my demon body, he couldn't deal with this emperor's demon soul. Coincidentally, I met this Tao Lord Divine Crow back then and entered his body, intending to seize his body and be reborn. I didn't expect this Divine Crow's will to be so firm. Myriad calamity ancestor, that old thing, actually chased after me and suppressed this emperor in this stinky crow's body. He even used 9 myriad calamity divine chains to seal this seat. When I get out, this emperor won't forgive him." The heartless demon emperor's eyes flickered with cold light. When he talked about myriad calamity ancestor, the trace of hatred was not concealed at all. "I'm afraid you won't have a chance in the future." When De Chertien heard this, he was indeed the heartless demon emperor of the ancient times. The killing intent in his heart surged out like a tide. Just the fact that the heartless demon emperor had occupied the body of Tao Lord Divine Crow had already made his heart surge with endless anger. After all, Tao Lord Divine Crow was a mighty figure of the demon clan. Seizing the body of the demon clan was undoubtedly a few ruthless steps on his face. However, at this moment, from Tao Lord Divine Crow's body, a completely different wave and aura suddenly emerged. A vast force burst out and instantly filled his entire body. The originally pitch-black Taoist robe turned golden again in the blink of an eye, and the demonic patterns on his face were dissipating at an astonishing speed. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my biggest motivation. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.